And hello everybody, and welcome to week 9 of the GRLCS Season 17. We are here with the Enforcer split once again. This time it's going to be some pretty hefty playoff implication matches. Before we go ahead and jump right into those things, I'm Retsko Dragon. Alongside me, I got my co-caster here, What Too Pretty.
Howdy, glad to be here, Rex. Excited to see these hefty playoff implication matches to come through. We've got an exciting match tonight of IDS and DBG. Should be an interesting one to see at the very least. We've already got a good amount of trash talking in the pre-lobby chat, as is expected for XDM.
Of course, we love a little bit of banter going back and forth here, but between Iridescent Dawn, Solaris, and Dud Bro Gaming here, we're already right underway with the ban phase of our draft. Zeri, Leona, Trundle already banned away for IDS, and then for Dud Bro Gaming, they're banning away Diana, Akali, and it looks like Hecarim will be the last one.
Can't say I'm too surprised to see that Hecarim ban come out. That champion has been so good in the recent meta. Just with the combination of all the different builds that he can go with, either tank or more damage focused. He's just a very consistent jungler overall. And with her not seeing the ban bench, it's not too surprising either to see Jinx be the first pick for ID Solaris.
Yeah, Jinx, very solid carry for them, and I gotta say, I mean, it's such a just a kind of a staple that's been around for League of Legends in this past season. I gotta say, ever since they buffed her out, like they gave her a bunch of incremental buffs, and now it just seems a little too hard to knock her right back down. But hey, I mean, hyper carries as an ADC role, not exactly something I'm going to be complaining about. Now, next up, it looks like it's going to be the Nautilus lock-in for the Dud Bro Gaming side for hardly, or hard only for Bard, I see. Okay, I had to relook at that name for a minute, and I was like, alright.
Had to read it over once a few times. I've got a personal bone to pick with these support drafts that are going on recently. I've been watching a lot of the professional play, the LCKs, the LECs, the LCSs. Everybody and their mother is drafting Nautilus. With the Ezreal alongside of it is not usually what you see, but the Nautilus is very common pickup. Everybody's grabbing the engaged supports, and I gotta wonder, it can't be as good as all the enchanters that are out there right now, right? Like Lulu, extremely good. Yumi, extremely good, extremely abusable. Karma is in an incredibly strong spot right now. Jan is still really good. She got nerfed for top lane, but she's still good support. Soraka, we saw what she could do. I want to see some changing up in the support role, not just everybody grabbing the tanks.
Yeah, which, to be fair, for a sake of argument, grabbing the tank in the support role is not necessarily a bad thing, because that frees up a lot of your options in the other roles as well. So like, you don't need to necessarily have a tank jungler. You can have something that that maybe can do a little bit more fightery sort of things. You not sort of your dedicated tank.
Yeah,
Or
these
top
greedy
lane,
junglers always wanted to be doing the damage, being the big source of the threat, not wanted to be on tank duty, but it's going to be the Zac lock-in for ID Solaris, but is going to put Roach on that tank duty.
Yeah, he will be doing that tank duty. And the J4, I heard, funny enough, you think that's going into jungle. There is a big possibility that if you're looking over at Plat Chat in our Discord, they mentioned if we get this game on stream that they would pick J4 mid, which would be hilarious, and it looks like they are, or at least it's being locked in somewhere. I don't remember which side would have said J4 mid, but it looks like it's going to be a J4 locked in any case.
It's the J4 flex pick. It could go mid, it could go jungle, we don't know, we'll find out. But in the meantime, second round of ban phase gonna come through. Aurelia and Victor both can be taken off the table. But looks like both these sides are going to be focusing on the solo lane bans, trying to make sure that they can get their comfortable priority matchups. Aurelia and Victor, fairly safe blind picks right now, so seeing them taken off the table, not too surprising, and I'm sure you're happy to not have to cast an Aurelia game.
Obvious. Sorry about that. But yeah, obviously. Aurelia, terrible champion. Actually pretty good in the right hands, such as Edstium, who's like just a cracked 17-year-old. When just watching him play in like the Akali. I think we saw a Diana game before, Syndra game. He's pretty good on those control mages, so I just imagine Irelia is just a monster under his belt as well. So, banning away a lot of mid laners, that's telling me a little bit that, you know, that it's telling that this might not be J4 mid, unfortunately. But regardless, going into jungle, still a very viable uh pickup for them as well. Uh, just really good for ganks. Sion's going to be locked in for the top lane.
Very safe blind top lane pick, DBG, trying to save this mid lane counter pick to try and get a comfortable matchup into XDM, like you were talking about. He's had a lot of success here in the GRLCS, as we've seen this season, especially with ID Solaris going on their undefeated streak so far. And we'll be having to see if they can keep up that streak today as we wait for the last little bit of ticket countdown for this first lock in for ID Solaris. Is it gonna be the Garen? It
Garen.
is. That's the Garen lock in.
Okay, so we got a little bit of a wet noodle fight up in the top lane up here. Uh, I mean, it's going to be a lot more damaging once we get into later parts of the game. Both of these champions were really like scaling. Both of them having a passive on both of their W's actually, where Sion gets infinitely more health and Garen gets more armor and magic resist up to a cap. But regardless, still pretty interesting.
Saw the Silas hover for a second. I thought it was going to be a spicy pick because there are a couple of good ultis to seal. The Cataclysm and the Depth Charge from Nautilus, both good choices. But no, instead XGM is just going to lock in the safe Corki, the champion that's still been doing really well despite not seeing any nerfs. Not too surprising to see it. Not the exciting matchup we were hoping for, but it's a good pick.
Yeah, very much so a pretty good pick. Pretty safe, really good as a mid laner, still dishes out a lot of damage, but it looks like it's going to be the Nivea going to be locked in against it, which also is a really good scaling option. So I like the pick for Nivea. What do you have thoughts about the matchup, or per se, what do you think they're going to be wanting to do with that Nivea?
Nivea is not a champion you're seeing a lot currently. This is a really interesting choice from Dudbro. They are saying, okay, we're going to wait till we get to our 2-3 item power spike, which I think means the Jarvan is a little bit off color. Like, Jarvan is a really early game focused champion, wants to get these, like, level 2 through 4, get these gank paths in, just land a flag and drag, get your lanes ahead. But with the Anivia and the Scion specifically, it means that Jarvan's focus is pretty much going to be entirely on the bottom side of the map, just trying to play around the Nautilus, or at the very least, bringing Nautilus with him to whatever ganks he goes to. But I do think Dudbro has a really good team comp set around that 2 to 3 item power spike. When Ezreal gets that Sheen item plus the Man Immune, Anivia gets the Mythic, probably the Leandries, plus the either Tier 2 boots and the, I would assume something like the Demonic Embrace. I'm not entirely sure how Anivia builds right now. And when Sion hits that 2-item tank point, when he's got like the Warden's Mail Singing inventory with his Mythic, it's going to be a really big fight point for Dudbro. And it's going to be before Jinx is really heavily online. But the issue is going into this, ID Solaris has definitely the late game on lock with the Jinx, the Corki, the Garen, all three of these champions known for their disgusting potential as the game reaches into the 30-35 minute mark.
Absolutely. This is going to be looking like a lot of scaling for IDS's side of things. They have Jinx, they have Corki. Corki hits around the 2-item power spike. Jinx more so traditional ADC, but also hyper carry, so along 3 to 4 item really. 3 item is definitely a good spike, and then once you get past there, every item is just a huge damage buff for Jinx because of that hyper carry potential. Leopard Gaming on their side, less sort of. I mean, I still consider Ezreal one of those hyper carries because he has so much peel potential for himself. That he, if he just kites and peels himself correctly, he can pretty much win any team fight. Keeping a correct spacing against anyone. Once we get to that late game. But then you have the Nivea who scales pretty well in the late game as well. Not as well as Corki, not an ADC, but still scales very well as one of those control mages. Still having a lot of utility for the team, providing a lot of CC to make a little bit more CC chains coming out through the team.
Yeah, I think the really interesting thing here is both of these teams have opted for a very traditional front to back, tanks in the front, mage poke in the back line sort of team comp. No real like split push threat, no like big flanking paths aside from like Zac, if you really count that one. Everyone here is going to be playing a very honest team fight, which should be exciting to watch.
Yeah, and it's again, once something that you were pointed out earlier is like, man, I wish I see more enchanters. I wouldn't say that enchanters right here in the comp would be pretty interesting. Like getting a Lulu in there. I know you have like a hatred of Lulu, so I'm really surprised that you mentioned it first. But
I have a personal extremely anti stance against Lulu and against Yumi specifically, but they're in a really good spot right now competitively.
mhm.
Enchanters, I think specifically, have such a not a I wouldn't call it a unique role, but the role of being able to heal your teammates and shield your teammates and protect your teammates is very different from what the traditional tank supports are doing right now, where they are the go button, so to speak, like your Leonas, your Nautiluses, your Threshes. The people who are just going to say, okay, we're starting the team fight now because I'm hitting my button. Lulu and Yumi, especially, and even Janna, can say, hey, no, you're not actually, because I'm going to press my disengage button, and now suddenly we've picked your support. It's a 4v5, and we still have full health bars.
All pretty like good things. I like just doubling down on that point. We have like three tanks on each side. J4 a little bit more fiery, while Garen's on the flip side also very fiery. But still, like Garen's one of those juggernauts, where he has a lot of health, a lot of resistances, and he still does quite a bit of damage as opposed to DBG, which I mean, benefits and cons on both sides of things, but overall, I would have liked to see them like an Enchantress here as well instead of Braum. Braum's still going to be pretty cool. Nala's still going to be pretty cool. You get those engage options as well. So if you're looking for windows of engage, both teams have those additional options and still some levels of disengage as well. Braum's ulti is really good for disengages as well since it hits around him and then also travels forward. Um,
Yeah, I was gonna say, Braum really bridges the gap between the tank engage and the support and disengage style of play, where he can move forward and play a similar role to like Thresh, where he's playing to either engage or disengage depending on what the situation calls for. He's one of like despite the simplicity of his kit, I would call him one of the higher skill cap supports in the game, just
mhm.
based on you have to know when you're moving forward and when you're moving back, which is such a like difficult thing to know as a support player because generally supports are pretty one-dimensional. Like you're playing Lulu, you're saying, hey, I'm gonna stand behind my AD carry and make them unkillable. Or like you're playing Nautilus, hey, I'm gonna hit my hook on the enemy AD carry and make sure they don't get to play. Whereas Braum, you have to try and find a way to do both.
But it definitely does reward the players that have that sort of flexibility because of that versatility he has. You can fill in for whatever your team kind of needs in the moment. You're just like, okay, we need some engage. We can do that with Braum, or we can just have Zach go in and have a follow up, a little bit of mini engage with Braum, using the ulti to zone and also knock up some targets to keep them locked down. Or we have
Yeah,
that disengage option as well, where he can just play that little bit of defense, play that warded role. That's right. Also, likes to describe Braum, and I think Thresh as well is actually considered a rewarded as well.
yeah, Braum can really just if worst comes to worst, Braum can just sit on top of Jinx with the Unbreakable and say, "Hey, Ezreal, I heard you wanted to auto attack my AD carry. I heard you wanted to throw skill shots at my AD carry. Haha, no, you don't. Not allowed. Actually illegal. You're going to jail."
Mm-hmm. So looks like that will be it for now. What do you
I did want
think?
to get your input on it real quick. Just nameplates off, asking the standard question. Looking at both of these drafts on either side, is there one that you think stands out as really like taking a lead in the game overall, not just at like any point in the game?
For generally, I, like taking the nameplates off, team comp wise as a whole, and not just talking about like specific phases in the game. Think, uh, honestly, I think I like Dudbro Gaming a little bit more. Like I know we're saying like no specific points of the game, but I like the little bit of early aggression you can get out of their comp a little bit more. I like their scaling options where it doesn't go as high, of course, as IDS's, but it's also pretty simple to play. You have three tanks who all can engage. You just find your opening, you go in, and then you have the other two, or even just one, leave them behind, uh, play a little bit of defense where they're just defending the carries and let them just free fire. But oh, it is something to be worried about with the Gamings because if you let that Jinx or Corki run a little too free, it gets a lot harder from there. What do you think about it? Taking nameplates
Yeah,
aside.
I was actually gonna go with the opposite end of you for very similar reasons. I like IDS's scaling potential, like you were talking about, the Jinx and the Corki. If they are allowed to get to that 2-3 item power point, it's gonna be very difficult for these frontliners to actually deal with them, especially the power of the Corki rockets. And if Jinx opts for the correct itemization of grabbing that Lord Dominic's regard, Sion is going to get shredded. He's not going to be very beefy in that front line. And as long as Braum is able to peel well, this Jinx should be untouchable.
Yeah, and now that's really good where it starts to come in with the with how we're going to be thinking about which side really has the advantage because now it's just going to be going down to who can play their comp a little bit better. And sorry guys, forgot about starting up a prediction, so I'll just lay that right there. Just a quick 2-minute one since we're already going to be loading into game once I switch over to scenes right here. Oh, I did change the name. Guys, my bad, guys. Over to this. Alrighty, there we go. Nameplates all side, and we're getting right into game here. Once it finally loads up here, pretty nice skins. What do you think about the porcelain skin line?
I was a little disappointed with the Lux and the Ezreal, but I think the Kindred and the Amumu and the Lysandra especially take up some really nice and interesting design spaces. I like the way they look. Hopefully this isn't the spectator bug that I think it is, but I think it might be.
I think it is, so I'm just going to be swapping over. You guys going to get a peek at my stuff. Oh no, my desktop. And I'll just switch it back to. I don't know why that's also. There.
Riot and spectator bugs name more iconic duo.
Oh,
Yeah, I was really into the into some of the porcelain skins. Like I think the Kindred one especially looks really good.
mhm.
But Ezreal's and Lux's are kind of just a bit generic for me.
That's fair. They are very generic. You know, the typical like blonde hair, blue eyes type of protagonist kind of you look. You know, very generic. Nothing too specific that stands out for them outside of what weapons they have. Looks like we are able to get in the game now. So
Yeah, I'm personally waiting on Ashen Knight Pike. I want that mythic skin to come out so I can just have a chorus chant for me when I get a pentakill with my ulti.
oh, it's so good. I love the Ashen Knight. It just reminds me so much of like, especially with the Elden Ring and Dark Souls like games. It just reminds me so much of that, and gives me a lot of hope for about what the new Mythic skins are going to be looking like. Because honestly, some of them were a little lackluster. I'll be honest, I liked Headstuck Annie whenever it was first released from Gemstones, because the special effects was super cool. But I guess all the other skins kind of fell off here, but a little bit of early interaction coming out.
Oji Roach walking pretty aggressively up here. Kogu has the flank. He could walk in more aggressively, but it looks like they're not going to opt to take the 3v3. Just get the wards down, get their information in. A couple of early wards throw down. You can see the one just above the red buff, which might catch Jarvan rotating if he goes for an early top gank. But I don't really like the positioning of that ward. I feel like it's not going to give him very much information.
Yeah, I feel like if I was Dog, I would really know. Is like, okay, he pushed up all the way over there for what? It's either he has a ward directly on my red buff, or he has a ward in the bush right behind it. And I don't think he was close enough in order to try to get it into the red buff. So I just don't path around that area, and he won't get that much value. So.
Yeah, he even has his sweeper just to, if he chooses to activate it and see that the ward isn't there, he might even think that the ward is on the Raptors itself and activate it when he's pathing that way, but I'm not 100% sure. It does look like both junglers are going to start on the top side, which means our bot laners are going to be free to start their lane a little bit more aggressively. Just try to get the wave push, hit their level 2 points.
Yep. And it is pretty notable for that as well because Chihuahua Dog and OG Roach are both playing some pretty aggressive junglers. Zac and J4 both are really good at getting level 2 ganks off right after they get leashed. So it's going to be pretty notable that they're starting both topside. I don't know. I don't know if IDS knows exactly that he is topside, but having a general feel, it looks like they are going to be playing a lot more, a little bit more safe, just in case, not wanting to push up too far. And that's, I guess, how the lane also goes against an Ezreal as well as Jinx. Just let him have the wave a little bit.
Yeah, the early ward on that blue buff that I think XVII put down caught Jarvan on the rotate, so they'll know for certain that he's on his bot side camps right now, which means the fact that the wave is pushing into the IDS bot lane is probably feeling not too bad for this Jinx and this Braum, where they're like, phew, even if Jarvan comes in, like, we'll know he's coming down here, and we're nearly under our tower, so we're not in too much threat range.
Really good to see. And now we're just going into a little bit of the lull. This is a pretty important game. We talked a little bit about playoff and like how it matters, and it gets a little complicated when you, because me and Broody were talking about it before we started, just so we can get it straight, and it's still it gets a little complicated. But the first and foremost, this will determine if IDS goes undefeated this series or this whole season, since this is going to be the last game before quarterfinals. Outside of that, then it goes off into if somehow Dudbro wins, which it's definitely in the realm of possibility. A little bit.
Electrocution coming out from Sevronger. I'm going to struggle to pronounce that one, but I get a trade back from XVII, even without the first strike. It's going to get him a bit of damage back.
Yep, give him a little damage back in. But we're talking about playoff contingent, like implications. If Dudbro Gaming wins this game, they have the win over Husker Scarlet, and they have the win over Dogmar Gaming, I believe. That means in both that cases, they move up to, like, from 4 to 2. It might even push away Dogmar Gaming, depending if Husker Scarlet wins out in their game. So then we just get a almost entirely new roster for who's in it. Oh,
Chihuahua Dog is unseen here, and the Valkyrie was forward. A nice flash away is going to pop the Anivia egg, but that is just the passive. Chihuahua Dog doesn't have his flash, and neither does XVII, which means XVII just barely going to be able to walk out of it and trade his flash for the egg. That looks like a return gank if I've ever seen one for Chihuahua Dog.
Definitely a good job. SDM forced to stay around with the wave. He already used his TP earlier. And if he TP'd now, he's going to be missing out on about 2 to 3 waves worth of minions. That's quite a deficit you don't want to get yourself into. So he's going to be staying. Fortunately, no return gank immediately in order to try to see if they can dive on top of him. Would be a little risky, but if they get it right, it punishes pretty hard. But it's okay. SDM's going to be fine. He's going to be living and able to get their backs off. Oh, nothing too bad.
Roach is up here. Elastic Slingshot coming through. Nice flash away from Kovu. The Slingshot arm is not going to grab Kovu, which means flash comes through. I'll take a free gank for a flash burn pretty much every time.
Yeah, absolutely, and that just means that we can look for a repeat gank in the top lane as well. So now we're having a little bit of options for the Bro Gaming side of things. They have the option of looking towards the mid game with SDM. He still has a Valkyrie, which is a little bit of a safety net, but OG Roach is going to be beating into it.
There's the Elastic Slingshot, and hard only for Bard is on his way, but Soronger doesn't have the egg. Nice flash away. We managed to keep his flash from the last exchange. Now hard only for Bard in the 1 versus 3. Nice flag and drag. It's only going to catch one, though. OG Roach trying to get the passive procs in. Chihuahua Dog stunned up. Hard only for Bard gets the pull back in under tower. Tower shots coming through. The stun's going to come in on the XDM. OG Roach just taken up in the front line because he's got the passive. He doesn't care. Soronger, the last auto is not going to come through! First blood goes over to hard only for Bard. Now the fight's gonna continue. Here comes Kovu with the unstoppable force, but with the dashes, it looks like OG Roach and second wind gonna be able to get themselves out of there. But a nice turnaround from Dudbro. It's gonna give them first blood.
Yeah, good turnaround. And SDM just got a little bit too big for his britches right there. He thought he could secure the kill before he goes down to the tower, but the hard only for Bard able to have a lot of CC in order to stop that. And it's to turn a pretty good situation out of the whole thing.
Oh, OG Roach is looking for the steal. The smite comes through, but no, it's secured by Chihuahua Dog. Taken down. OG Roach has his flash, but can't get over the wall before his passive proc. Second Wind is coming in here to try and protect his jungler. He doesn't have flash. OG Roach gets killed. Braum passive procs onto Kovu, but that is just a double kill for the Scion. Second Wind, gotta let your jungler die there.
I gotta say, you know what I think a good phrase for Get Wrecked, for any season, honestly, in these recent ones, is Game 1's for the fans, you know? That's what we're seeing right here. Game 1's for the fans for IDS. Because...
Everybody heard Bingo's talking about how Game 1 is always for the fans, and they're like, you know what, we can do that too.
Yeah, we can do that too. But in any case, it looks like it is going to be a pretty good lead coming out for Dubro Gaming. They have a solid 1.5k. So collectively, between all of them, they have a BF sword and a couple of pots underneath there. Pretty good amount of stats. All of it's really going over to Kovu in the top lane. Not all of it, of course, but 2 kills worth is over there for him. He's able to afford a phage and keep up with his opponent, even though he was gone using his ulti, leaving lanes. He is able to keep up quite well thanks to those additional kills. So that what is it? Oh, is it Unstoppable Onslaught?
Yes, Malphite is Unstoppable Force.
Yeah.
Scion is Unstoppable Onslaught. There's too many Unstoppable ultimates in this game. I do think it's interesting that Kovu was opting for the Hull Breaker. So maybe what I was talking about, where no split pushers in this game, might be going wrong if Kovu opts to just be the Scion who's going to be taking down towers in the side lane with Demolish. We'll have to see what he opts for in the as he gets into his build. But I think if he's going to go for the Hull Breaker, he should probably just full commit to the bit, because otherwise the item is not incredibly efficient.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely agree on that front. But we will have to see if he actually does commit to it. Pretty big CS difference showing up here in the top lane as well. Mid lane's going to be bringing it back a little bit, and some of it with the AC, but ooh.
Nice knock-up by Savronger, and the pullback in. XDM doing a lot of damage. The egg passive comes out. Flash forward from Chihuahua Dog to get the Cataclysm in. He slays XDM somehow. I couldn't see his health bar. Savronger finally goes down. Ojirox picks that one up, but he doesn't have his own passive. Chihuahua Dog, I think, is going to have the damage. The Elastic Slingshot comes out. OG Roach is walking away with the sliver of HP. Chihuahua Dog doesn't have flash. The flag is on cooldown. The spear pull, the poke is going to take him down. Just a little poke to the back.
He's just going to hit him with that Q and finish off that kill on the tiny Zac. And now we're seeing a pretty good lead coming out from Dubro Game. They're keeping up quite well. Look at that, 2k in the lead. They have a Drake, and they're looking for the Herald as their next objective in order to try to really push for something.
Yeah, like what I was talking about, I like that Chihuahua Dog is getting things done in this early game. He's putting the pressure down and making sure that this Jarvan doesn't just sit in the jungle, power farm. He's going to get the Rift Herald here. But yeah, he's making these early games happen. He's making sure that his lanes don't get too far behind. He's putting the pressure down onto XDM. There hasn't been a lot of fighting in the bottom lane, surprisingly enough. Jinx and Ezreal sort of have just been allowed to farm as much as they'd like, but I'm sure neither one of them is really too upset with that.
Yeah, and I do want to point out for like CS per minute right now, because this will be like the only time I actually pointed CS per minute out, because it's super easy math right now. You know, 8 minions per minute for Zalp and about 9 for Clue, so pretty good overall for both of them. Really keeping up that solid income of gold, but Clue does have a little bit more of a power spike having that Sheen item already.
Oh, hard only for Bard. Blast Point over the wall. Hook's gonna land. Chihuahua Dog is here, but I don't think Second Wind is exactly the engaged target they want. OG Roach and XDM are rotating down. Both teams really do not want to give up this Infernal Dragon. Does mean there's the potential for Cloud Soul, but the early stats from the Infernal Dragon itself is not one that they want to give up. IDS are setting up a bit of a lane gank, but OG Roach is just going to show himself and apply pressure, say, hey, we're just going to shove this wave in, get ourselves prepped for this dragon, get our vision control, try and set up cleanly.
Oh, Cloud Soul? You mean the highest win rate Drake? Oh, yes.
By like a 0.5%? Yeah, absolutely.
Highest win rate not because it's good Drake, it's because if you're winning, you're taking it anyways. And if you're losing, you don't care. What?
Here's the engage. Zap is going to land on the Hard Only for Bard. Classic Slingshot doesn't find anybody, but it is going to zone off. Hard Only for Bard with the slick of moves. Gets the hook into the wall. Only loses his flash for that engage.
Yeah, pretty solid. Doesn't lose out on too much. And we're going to be moving over to the Infernal's Drake. I am hoping it's actually like head strike Drake. I do enjoy myself a good head strike Drake.
Oh, we love the gates. Chihuahua Dog is going to put the Herald down in the mid lane. It looks like it is actually going to be... I'm pretty sure that's the Hextech Soul, given that there's no icon. Yeah.
Let's go! Still shout out to
Herald
my
taking
season 15 where I had a guess rate of 33% on a 50-50 shot.
Well, hey, you got it this time around, and it was a 1 out of 3 instead of a 1 out of 2, so
yeah,
odds are looking better in your favor.
Yeah. Let's yeah, you're saying earlier?
The Rift Arrow popping in the mid lane is going to get the 2 plates, but they don't get the full tower takedown, and the chances of Anivia actually getting to hit the tower in front of Corki in any capacity is really low. So the fact that the Rift Arrow doesn't take the tower down, I think, is a really big deal.
Yeah, it is going to be very unfortunate. It doesn't open up the map at all. We're going to have to be waiting probably around, I want to say a 17-minute mark. It's just an arbitrary number I'm throwing out there. But 17-minute mark when we're starting to roam a lot more. And XDM just like gets caught out, or maybe he's roaming somewhere else and the ADCs are in mid lane. Is really the only point where we're going to be seeing this mid lane tower be going down. It's going to be quite a while because I don't think XDM really wants to commit to anything like that, and Deadbro Gaming is probably not going to throw resources just yet.
Stoppable onslaught in. There's the flag and drag. Gemtop has his flash, but not even going to burn it. Just going to say, okay, I overstepped. I'll take the death. That's fair. Kovu now 3-0 on this Scion, feeling very happy with these tank stats that he's got in his pocket.
Yeah, he has the Hullbreaker, and now he's ready to enjoy his top lane island. Look at him go, just wailing down at these towers. I gotta say, I do. It's been a while since Scion actually like was released, but I do love his tower animation because I think that's the first champion I've seen that has specific tower attacking animation instead of just regular auto attacks.
Yeah, the 3 big ones that I can think of are Volibear, Scion, and Mundo, who all have, like, very different animations when they're hitting the tower. Like, Mundo just slamming the tower with his head, Volibear just punching the tower, but we're gonna have to put that on pause. There's the depth charge in. Lots of CC coming through, but a nice wall is gonna deny the Arcane Barrage from Clue, but Zalp still gonna go down to the barrage of crowd control coming through. Second Wind trying to limp away from this one, but they're gonna donate the kill over to Clue. A clean 2-for-0 again for DBG, just coming out to a screaming lead in this early game.
Yeah, look at that. 1-8. So let's go ahead and take a look at where some of this gold is going to be lying ahead. This 4K gold lead is going to be dispersed about 500 in the top lane with all these extra kills. Going to be making up that CS gap. In the jungle, we're seeing about 1K. A little bit of fight in the top lane first, though.
Gemtop is just going to spin. I swear I get deja vu every time we look up here because it's Gemtop spinning, Kovu throws on the shield, puts it down with the slam, and both of them just walk away after taking like a 10th of their health bar.
Yeah, true. But, and then we're looking over in the mid lane here, where we have 1,500 gold difference, thanks to just how well Anivia farms. We did, and that's also including, Showringer, also getting that roam down bot lane, so it's pretty interesting to see that, and then, over in the bot lane, it's also about
getting caught.
Oh,
there's the Gale Force forward. So Wronger taking a lot of damage, has to flash away. Nice black forward from OG Roach is going to pull him back in. The egg is going to be popped. There's no support for Wronger. They're just going to donate that kill over to Zalb. That's the carry you want the money on. Nice little play from IDS to come back into this game.
Very nice indeed. A good shutdown and on the right target going over to Zalb.
Oh, unstoppable onslaught. Kovu wants to keep this one going. Chihuahua Dog is up here. Gemtop does still have his flash. He's just playing this very aggressively. There's the flash away. Cataclysm doesn't come down, just flashing away from that flag and drag. Gemtop getting a little bit more attention in this top side than I think he was initially expecting with this second gank coming through. You really don't expect to see more than 0 when you're a top laner. Especially
when you build that Hullbreaker first item, you really think he's like, okay, he got the Hullbreaker now, I'm leaving him alone, he has enough stats, he doesn't need me. But, Chihuahua Dog still giving attention to the top lane, making sure that, you know, his lanes are covered, and that just might also possibly just be because all his other lanes are pretty hard to gank at the moment. We're seeing a lot of pressure in the mid lane, but still, XVII with the Valkyrie just makes a lot of engages minute, unless you have Schrödinger already start off with the stun. And then bot lane is just a very safe lane with the Braum and Jinx, so pretty hard to
Yeah,
try to go anywhere.
for the ganks that we've seen actually work in the mid lane, it's when XDM uses that Valkyrie aggressively and tries to make a play happen with his jungler. That's when Chihuahua Dog can come in and punish, but until that point, Chihuahua Dog's sort of just like, okay, I can flag and drag and maybe like flash afterwards to try and land the knockup, but it's an 80 carry with a dash. There's not a lot that I'm going to be able to do. X-Tech Drake is going to be going down. OG Roach is in, and he gets the steal! Gets the smite away! OG Roach is now in the middle of it, hitting the Let's Bounce, trying to get the damage in. X-Team on the side, putting so much damage down with these rockets. That's shut down immediately. Another shutdown goes over to Gem Top. Kovu with the death, just trying to take advantage of the passive as much as he can. Jinx is starting to get excited. Clue's going to get the trade back onto OG Roach. Gemtop gets himself a double kill, taking out the DBG support. XDM knocks forward. The Liadris is not going to take him down as he gets the potion pop. Just barely survives, and a really excellently played fight from IDS is going to put them back in the game.
Very excellently played indeed. I mean, it was a 4K deficit that IDS went into that fight, but they just played it so well. Even with OG Roach immediately diving right in, he had the passive available, so even if he gets bursted down, he still has a little mooglets in order to try to get a revive off. His team had enough time to jump right in. A second win, especially using those little mooglets in order to try to jump onto. Oh no, Clue.
Oh, Clue, you have overstepped. Arcane shifts away, but that is shut down gold going over to Zalp. He had Kovu and Chihuahua Dog on the flank, but just didn't realize Second Wind had stuck around.
Yeah, and I was about to say it was only going to be a 2K deficit now, but it's even shrunk even further to a 1K deficit, where everyone is pretty even-ish. Top lane managed to got a lot of kills for Gen Top, so he's a little bit ahead to try to make up a lot of these deficits. And then, really the lead is bound to the bot lane, the difference that Clue has at the moment.
Yeah, the amount of farm that he's been able to pick up just over the course of this game, like you were talking about, he's on a really good amount of CS per minute. I don't know the exact math because it's like 180 in 19 minutes. It's almost 10 a minute. It's really good.
It's around 8, right? Right? No, 9 per minute. About 9 per minute.
Silence coming in. Chihuahua Dog taking so much damage. Gets the Cataclysm down finally. The damage is just so much. The Valkyrie comes through from XDM and the package as well. So much damage over the top of this team fight. And it's over before you can blink. 3 kills over to IDS. And what looked like a very easy game for Dudbro Gaming is now suddenly fully in the momentum of ID Solaris.
I guess this is really showing off the power that comes from, one, a Corki having finished his Nirvana. Oh no.
OG Roach. Savronger has the passive, but I don't think it's going to save him this time around. Kobu's on the side, trying to get anything done he can. He's got the Hull Breaker, so he's very tanky, but I don't think those tank stats are going to last forever. That is a double kill for Zalp. Suddenly 5-1-6 on the Jinx, and now IDS pushing it down the Nexus Towers. Another 2-man knockup from OG Roach. They're not done yet. XDM goes on a rampage. Gemtop is in the back line. There's the Winter's, the Glacial Fissure, that's the name, thank you. Clue is gonna finally pick up Second Wind as he overstepped a little bit, but that's the first Nexus Tower going down, with the second one probably to be well on the way. XDM has the rockets left, but is still pushing pretty aggressively, wants to try and find this. I don't know if they have the damage to keep the siege going. It's a little early in the game to try and finish it. Those death timers are soon to be coming back, so I think IDS is just gonna have to exit the base for now.
Yeah, and with that, a lot of pressure and gold swings have really gone in favor for IDS. We saw a 4... Okay, I started my whole rant saying there was a 4K deficit for IDS, and now they're 3K in the lead. They just made up 7K out of thin air and caught up with Dudbro Gaming, and now they're just playing their comps. And they're pretty much at the point now where their comp just plays itself, where you just have really strong carries taking away the game now. Sure, you have Clue who has S2 item, where generally it's where an Ezreal really spikes up here, but he's also went with the Essence Reaver build here, which means he's also looking for a little bit extra tempo, so it's looking kind of rough.
I like the positioning from Kovu, just trying to protect his AD carry. But hard only for Bard, you are in the wrong neighborhood. The Jinx Super Mega Death Rocket gonna come through. Zalp goes dominating. Kovu is, I think, gonna be tanky enough to just walk away from this. Oh, actually, Gemtop is gonna overstep. Get the shutdown to Kovu, but no! Kovu gets shut down himself. The double kill for XVII as he's got the Rockets online now with that 2-item power spike. But Stronger does not want him to get away with that. Shutdown again goes over to Stronger on XVII. So, like, 5 minutes ago, there was a 3K gold lead for Dudver Gaming, and then a minute ago, there was a 4K gold lead for IDS, and now it's like 1.5? It's a very back and forth game.
Very back and forth. I mean, I did tell both of the teams I hope it's a great series tonight, and honestly, I don't think my heart can take it. I've been casting for probably 2 years now. I'm in my prime according to internet age, and that means my back just can't.
Oh, nice pullback from OG Roche using the ward to get the second half of the Zac Q off. Kovu has teleported in. OG Roche is very tanky. Hard only for Bard again. You're just in the wrong neighborhood, but you can't be that far back. Second one picks up that kill. OG Roche in the meantime is going to get his passive pop. Gemtop flashes forward to get the engagement for his team. Quote unquote, the Garen engage. Walking forward. Clue finally picks up OG Roach, but XVII is going to get the kill onto Kovu. There's the Super Mega Death Rocket. Zalp goes godlike. He's excited. He wants more kills. It's a double kill for him. He's 8-1, and it looks like he wants to finish this game.
Alrighty then. So now we're back to 5K gold lead for IDS. And this all these teams really love around, was the 17-minute mark there. Oh my goodness.
Wawa Dog just deleted the Nexus is going to be the target. The Baron buff is still on Zalp. He is 8-1-12 on this Jinx. Incredibly good KDA. Incredibly good KP. XVII just going to ruin his KDA a little bit for the series. The Unstoppable Onslaught comes through, but the game is already over in 23 minutes, 48 seconds. IDS pick up game 1.
We're going to go on a break real quick. I think I have whiplash for seeing the gold lead going back and forth so much. So I'm going to need a minute to collect my thoughts. But good job, IDS. You guys will be taking up that game 1 there. And moving on to game 2, let's see how does Dudbrew Gaming's really swap their game plan. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with our next game. And there we go. Hello, hello. We are back. We just had to take a minute stretch. You know, when they say you get like what is it? Uh when you you get a little whiplash, you should definitely like take a stretch, really try to get your bearings down, a little bit of vertigo, seeing how fast that lead just transferred into its one transferred over. For PQ, I'm pretty sure that's you, him in the chat. He's asking us like where'd that game go? Well, you see, it was once upon a time, Dudbro Gaming had about a 4K gold lead, and then you heard in the background that from IDS, their mom saying it's like, or then saying it's like, mom told me it's my turn with the gold lead, and then one bad dragon fight happened, and it just went all downhill from there.
Yeah, this has been certainly a very quick series so far. That game one was looking like it might scale up into the late game, but then ID Solaris said, "Hey, we're gonna steal this Hextech Dragon. We're gonna give our carries a bunch of shutdown gold, and then we're just gonna take your Nexus." Like 5 minutes later, sorry, game's over. Our bad.
Yeah, it was quite a speedy match right there. But in any case, we are moving on over to this Nets match here, where we're seeing the Nautilus picked up this time by Solaris, Ezreal still picked up by Dudbro Gaming, and they're going to be following it with the Blitzcrank. So still tanky, got a little bit engaged, doesn't have the flexibility like a Braum does, but still does fill in the roles very similar to how a Nautilus does. A little bit extra range, a little bit safer, and definitely a lot more pick.
Yeah, Blitzcrank does have its fair share of counters, though, and Tristana is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to queue up that rocket jump to get out of the rocket grab. Turns out jumps are better than grabs, which means that ID Solaris is already drafting, I would say, fairly ahead in this bottom lane, as Nautilus would just does what Blitzcrank wants to do, but slightly better. And now with the Graves being the hover, with the flexibility to go between jungle and top, this is feeling like a very Solaris favorite draft so far.
Yeah, this is looking pretty good. Graves, another good or a pretty good jungler. Very different than how the Zac was. To be honest, it is a lot more aggressive. But maybe that's what we're going to be looking for IDS. They're going to be switching up the game plan. So they're like, okay, we played a typical front to back. Now let's play a pretty strong hand with all on Debro Gaming. Now we're going to be locking in the Shyvana. Interested if it's AD or AP. Either way, fighter-ish in order to try to square up against the Graves. And it'll be pretty interesting. I mean, Shyvana has a pretty good clear speed once she gets going. If you're AP, once she gets a couple items, then she gets going with it pretty well. But if you're AD, gets going pretty soon.
Yeah, the styles of Shyvana build that we've been seeing recently, if you've been watching some LCS at all, Whippo pulled it out in the top lane. You take press the attack, you go Frostfire Gauntlet, and then you get Demonic Embrace. So instead of being a fighter or a tank or a like AP burst caster, you can just be all three instead.
The best of all three worlds, not just both, but all three. Now we're going into the second ban phase. We're seeing Irelia and Mordekaiser both going to be banned away. Very similar bans coming out from both sides. Instead, we're tacking on to the Jinx from Dudbro Gaming, so we're making sure we're not going to be seeing that again. And the side that's going to be also banned away here, we saw XDM previously hover that, but didn't actually commit to picking. But just going to be making sure you can't have it at all.
Yeah, that one's not too surprising when you have a Blitzcrank and a Shyvana on your team. Turns out Silas really likes Blitzcrank ulti because it has a 100% AP ratio, and that's pretty good.
And then Shyvana ulti just turns you into AP Shyvana. You get to change it. You decide it's like, I don't want to play this champion anymore, and you try a different one.
Yeah, it's kind of like with Jace or with Nidalee or Elise. It's just like, hey, I don't want to play this champion anymore. I'm going to be a different champion now. I'm going to do what your job is, but slightly better because I'm Silas and that's what I do. But with the Diana not seeing the ban bench and the Syndra not seeing the ban bench, and with Dudbro now picking up the Corki, I wonder if it is just going to be IDS grabbing the Syndra in response.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting if they want to go for a Syndra, which is like we're going to be matching Mage versus ADC, ADC if you want to call him that, but marksman in the mid lane. Um, or are we going to be looking for something more aggressive? It's like, okay, sure, you can perma shove me all you want. I can just go in your other lanes and start farming champions instead. It'll be pretty
I
interesting to see what they actually commit, though.
I do love this Ornn lock-in. It does mean that Graves is guaranteed to be in the jungle, but Ornn is so underrated right now as a scaling tank because the item upgrades that he brings, along with the just pure raw tank stats that he has on his own, he gets so beefy so quickly. As soon as he hits that level 13 mark and gets that one upgrade, he just skyrockets in terms of how tanky he is.
Absolutely does turn white quite the monster whenever he comes in. I do still like myself the Ornn, not just because that took a lot of time in order to try to actually learn the ornament names. But hey, I do enjoy myself some Ornn gameplay. He will be filling in a good slot of needing that sort of engage without needing to commit too hard. You still have the pick potential, you still have a good tank, and on top of that, you got a lot of CC additional onto your kit to make up for the Graves and Tristana, who doesn't exactly have the CCs that you want them.
Yeah, and with Shen being Dubro's final lock-in for the top side, this is a pretty interesting draft. I really like the idea that Dubro is going for here. I think the Blitzcrank as a second pick, I'm a little bit questionable about. Blitzcrank is really a good like counter pick to certain kinds of AD carries like Aphelios who don't really have the extra mobility in their kit. Maybe even someone like Caitlyn who's going to be dashing in a straight line. But seeing it this early, it must be a confidence pick for hard only for Bard, because otherwise I don't really see why it's getting picked up. But otherwise, in their draft, Ezreal and Shen, really safe champions in lane, very difficult to punish them. Corki, we saw what XDM could do on it last game. We'll see if Savronger can pull out a similar performance. And Shyvana is a stock standard good, tanky, brawlery jungler.
Yeah, a little bit of a direct ball traits, filling in a little bit of all the roles. But in case here, it's going to be pretty interesting how this game goes. We talked a little bit about lane matchups. Talked about Ezreal, Blitzcrank versus Tristana and Nautilus, where Tristana and Nautilus kind of just winning over it. What do you think about, I guess, the Syndra versus Quirky matchup? We saw a similar, very similar one, but instead of going with a control mage like in Anivia, we're going with a little bit more bursty, a little bit more consistent damage that Syndra brings. What do
Yeah,
you
I
think?
think Syndra and Anivia play actually fairly similarly when you think about it. They're both zone control mages where they both have an area that you really can't walk into. I would say Anivia's is a little bit smaller than Syndra's, just given the range on her stun. But Anivia says, "Hey, if you walk into this area, I'm going to throw the wall behind you. I'm going to see what way you're walking, throw the stun. I'm going to catch you, and you're going to take a lot of damage." Syndra says, "Hey, if you stand between, if you put the ball between me and you, I'm gonna hit you with a stun. I'm gonna press Q, and then I'm gonna press R, and you're gonna die." Uh, we saw that XTM, I think, misplayed the early game a little bit last time, especially on that first blood that got given over to hard only for Bard. We'll have to see if Savronger can play it a little bit cleaner. But I do think Syndra is a comfort pick for XDM, and I think he'll be able to pilot this one with efficiency.
Yeah, that is all fair assessments. I'm going to be really interested to see if Savarunger can really keep up with what Ezreal did in last game. And on top of that, also just competing in the sense that you're literally going against him in the mid lane, going as a zone control mage. It's going to be real interesting to see. Now moving over to the top lane, the Shen versus Ornn matchup. I want to say it's actually pretty interesting because they're both really short traders. I think Ornn might win out on that one because I guess it really depends on skill matchups, depending on like ordering and all that stuff. But if Ornn can get his brittle off and follow up with a knockup or get a knockup brittle before Shen can recall his Twilight, his sword, his spirit sword, and then getting that Twilight refuge down in order to deny the brittle proc, the auto attack brittle proc, where it gives that micro stun. It's going to be really interesting to see a little bit. Can Quovu really keep up with that if he has a little bit uh, a little foresight because I don't know about timings exactly about how quick you need to be doing it compared to Orin. But if he has a little bit of that foresight, it has a little bit of that skill. I think it can definitely go towards Kovu since he can just then follow it all up with taunt, and then just get 3 free slashes that deals max percent damage, and then he can win out some of these short trades. He'll lose out a little bit in the long term because uh he is just going to be that tanky engage sort of ninja. Well, Orin has a lot more utility for his team, not in just engages, but also in item stats that are generally about a 1k gold each. It'd be interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting in the top side because these are both tanks who have a very good matchup into tanks, where Ornn has that percent health damage on his brittle, like you were talking about, and Shen has the percent health damage on those empowered auto attacks from his Q. Uh, Ornn doesn't have a way to stop those auto attacks from coming through, but Shen has a way to stop the brittle proc from coming through, as long as he dodges that auto attack. Which means I would just barely give the advantage to Shen. But given how aggressive we saw Gemtop playing the Garen last time around, I might give him the advantage in lane just because I think Ornn has such an oppressive laning phase. I think the difference maker is going to be the mana that Ornn has to spend versus just Shen waiting on cooldowns.
That is true. But then you can also think about it as like Orin doesn't have to necessarily back in order to try to get a couple of power spikes, as Shen will need to stay or go back, where his limiting factor is not necessarily that he's out of mana, so he needs to leave, but he has money, so he has to spend it in order to try to keep up with the power that Orin can really produce on the top lane. It's going to be a little bit of a back and forth, and I really like so going to be really interesting for this matchup. I'm imagining that Orin's also going to be taking TP to see if maybe he can match a couple of these roams that Kovu might be sending out, but it's going to be quite a going to be quite neat matchup in the top lane. Not necessarily for like an interesting standpoint for it's going to be action packed and all that, but it's more so it's like what can they provide to the team and which one's more useful at the time.
Yeah, I do think there's the potential for Kovu to just take Ignite for this lane, just go flash Ignite, because Shen does have the Stand United if he needs to teleport to a team fight. And now with the changes to teleport, it's a better teleport, because instead of being forced to teleport to a tower that might be far away from where your team is fighting, you can go directly on top of your teammate, and not only just giving them the giant shield, but also saying, hey, Shen's on the way, you better watch out. Which can really turn a fight in favor of your team. And you can take the Ignite and just say, hey, I'm going to play aggressive in lane. I'm going to auto attack you and ignite you. And if you don't respect my damage in lane, you will die and you will start to lose this lane.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely, but we are going to be closing out some of this material lane. We got still another 40 seconds. And we've just been talking a lot about this mid and top lane. Let's do a quick brief. What do you think? We asked this question last game. What do you think, taking away the nameplates? Who do you think has the better comp?
I have to give it to ID Solaris. I think their comp is easier to execute on, and it's simpler execution, and I think it executes on what they want to do better than what Dunbar Gaming wants to do with their comp. ID Solaris has a couple of go-in buttons. They have Graves, who is deceptively tanky in the front line. You have Syndra, who is, like we were talking about, that zone control mage that is really difficult to disrupt in the mid lane. Tristana is a pretty safe AD carry, so even if Shyvana and Shen get the dive on her, she can hop away. She can keep herself pretty safe. Nautilus and Ornn have those go buttons. They can send the team forward. They can play that aggressive team fight engage style. And I think that simplicity and execution is going to be what gives them the win in this particular game.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. I feel like the simplicity that IDSRs has for their team comp a little bit easier to execute. You understand your clear points of what you want to do in the team, in a lot of team fights, or what do you want to do before and after. Honestly, they have really clear points what they want to do, so it makes it quite interesting to see. But well, let's transition on over to the game because it looks like we didn't get the spectator bug. Let's go. Let
No
me.
spectator bug this time around. I do want to point out that we have the Thunder Lord versus the Shock Blade in the top lane. Kovu going with that new Shen skin and Gem topping the Thunder Lord Ornn. Thunder and Lightning. Hopefully that means we're going to be playing aggressive and not just sitting back and waiting for our team to scale up.
Well, well, you can hope, but it's probably going to be
We
going
can
wrong.
hope.
We can hope. We
I
can
mean,
hope.
we saw how aggressive they were playing on Sion versus Garen last time around. Maybe we'll see some of that raw aggression and that tenacity in trades like we saw last game.
You saw like hard aggression and tenacity in trades. You also quoting from yourself. You said they were doing about a tenth of their health bars to each other.
Yeah, but now they have percent health damage in their kits. Now they can actually do damage to each other.
I guess you're right. Then it's more. Then it's exactly more of a percent of their HP bar than just a tenth. But in any case, it looks like we're not going to be having any shenanigans like last time. Everyone's stay on their respective sides, and well, we'll see how this game's go. Oh no!
We might have a level 1 in the bottom side, Hardly for Bard. Aftershock's gonna proc. There's the Nautilus hook in. Hardly for Bard has to flash away. The bomb is gonna proc. That's a lot of damage onto the Blitzcrank. The shield is not gonna come through from the passive though, so that's a big cooldown to keep. But the flash being burned in trade for the ignite is a big win for IDS.
Absolutely going to be pretty nice and big win for them. But I am a little curious if Hard Only for Bard was paying attention there, because you did see Second Wind approaching that. Oh no.
Ooh, nice hook from Second Wind, but the nice hook from Hard through Bard. It's not under tower though. That's the flash and the heal burned away from Zelp and Second Wind. The ignite comes down from Harley for Bard, and suddenly we are even in summoner spells again. In fact, I think there's a slight advantage in favor of Duckbro.
Yeah, it's like nothing ever happened. But I when it is, you know what? Honestly, I retract the little criticism I was gonna say for Hard Only for Bard. That was a great hook. Good job. I love Glacial Augment on Blitzcrank, by the way. It makes it so more punishing in order to try to get back to your team. It really like puts a death seal on you unless you have some sort of TP or a dash away built into your kit.
Nice taunt from Kovu. Here's that percent health damage we were talking about. They're taking the aggressive trades. Aggressive trade in the mid lane from XVII as well, so Wronger is going to get back with the first strike procs. Just health bars being traded across the map. Very aggressive as opposed to what we saw last game.
It's pretty aggressive. I like it, honestly. After such a scrappy last game, you do see IDS definitely going for a lot more brawls and trying to maybe get this game rolling on a little bit sooner. They aren't playing any sort of hyper scaling EDC comps anymore. Just they have a little bit more of that mid-game sort of pressure, but we'll see how that really turns out here. Ooh.
Nice stun from XDM, but the wave is in the way. Oh no, XDM! Your wave isn't there! That is First Blood going to Clue. XDM! I'm not here to say you're getting gapped in the mid lane, but your roams are certainly gap worthy.
Good hook coming out from Hard Only for Bard. Really capitalizing on some of these and able to try to get Clue a little bit further ahead. In this case, I am going to be wondering if this is part of the reason why they went to Ezreal. Maybe something Clue is comfortable with, but oh,
another hook in from Hardly for Bard, but there's the execution on the rocket jump. Nice play from Zalp to get away from that knockup. Even if he didn't get away from the hook itself, not getting crowd controlled next to Blitzcrank is a pretty good spot to be.
Yeah, honestly, and you did avoid most of that Glacial Augment, so you didn't have to worry about as much of a trouble with that. In any case, we are going to be switching over our attentions to top lane with Chihuahua Dog just sitting patiently, waiting.
There's the taunt in. Chihuahua Dog coming forward, flash away from Gem top, not wanting to take that Shyvana PTA damage. Ochiroach is here. He's going to get spotted on that ward, so I don't think we'll be seeing too much action unless DBG really think that they can take the 2 versus 2. Gem top wants to force the issue, though. There's the Spirit's Refuge from Kovu, denying away that auto attack. Roach is here, getting the autos. Nice taunt from Kovu. Roach taking plenty of damage. Flash forward. Chihuahua Dog takes that kill. Gem top has to walk away and leave his jungler to die.
Yeah, might be a little bit of a miscommunication. They saw a Chihuahua dog, and I'm imagining OG Roach was like, okay, we can fight this, we can fight this. Gentom maybe a little bit miscommunication, didn't want to commit to that, and also not realizing Chihuahua dog was not AP threat. Definitely is a little bit more of an AD threat with that PTA for that early game damage, and really focusing in on trying to really hurt down and a quicker amount of bursts in this early game, and then in the later game it's just going to be for the long con sort of fights with that percent damage.
Yeah, the press, the attack procs in the late game are going to really hurt the Ornn, but in the early game they can hurt anyone. Speaking of hurting, XVII puts the potential unleashed down onto Soronger. Nice flash trades, hard only for Bard, taking advantage of that Hex flash. Well, XVII is just going to have to burn his own flash in response.
Yeah, he's going to be getting a flash for a Hex flash cooldown, which is pretty worth. Pretty worth, so good roam from hard only. This is probably going to be a reset in the mid lane. I would imagine that they have a little bit of gold accumulated. I do know that they have some books, but trying to get a little bit of resets, trying to deny those too, so forcing them to stay in lane. But
can we get a quick check on hard only for Bard? I actually wonder, was that his real flash or his Hex flash? Because his real flash was burned fairly early in the game.
Ooh, it's gonna be a little minute.
We're gonna have to wait a second. Second wind gets the root and the hook and onto hard only for Bard. Rocket jump in, gets the reset. The hook is there, but I think this is just gonna be a kill. Goomba Stomp donated to Zelp, taken away.
Yeah, and let's see if I remember the buttons. Oh, that's not the button. Let's see. So is it? Oh, oh no, wait. There. He is. All right. So I don't actually know exactly how to check that. How long?
And okay, you can check it in game, but in the spectator, it might just be a bit different. We'll have to wait like an extra minute and a half. If it's still Hex Flash, I think he used his real flash in that mid lane gank. But thankfully for Blitzcrank, it works very much the same way, where you sit in a bush, you wait, and instead of just insta flash hook, you just charge the Hex Flash and wait, and then you hook.
Pretty interesting. If we care anything about like the very small micro things, I wonder if Blitzcrank's hook with the casting time, in that whole animation, if it's at all, you can queue it up before you queue.
Call of the Forge God, nice knock up. Doesn't have the flash to continue. This is just gonna take the health bar advantage. Nice dash away from Kovu means that there's no kill threat coming in.
No kill threat indeed, but Kovu does have the Stand United available. That means we may be looking to try to make a play around the map. He doesn't want to get too low for that. He's going to be setting up some wards and preparing to stay a little bit under tower and seeing if maybe his team needs him somewhere.
Here's that Hex Flash channeling. Hard only for Bard. XDM's just going to path behind the minions, throw up the crab emote, just say, hey, what are you doing in my lane? Get out of here. Hard only for Bard is going to take this ward, but this is a bit risky. OG Roach and Second Wind are here. Anytime there's a fight on the top side as well, just fighting over for vision. There's the engage in, hardly for Bard. There's the mana flow, and there's the mana shield and the Shen shield coming in. Hardly for Bard, so tanky on this Blitzcrank. The collateral damage is not going to come through for OG Roach. He's going to get picked up by the Ignite from Hard only for Bard. XDM is going to try and get the trade back, a little bit of damage onto Soronger, but again, I'm sensing a bit of deja vu from the last early game where it feels like it is very Dunpro favored.
Yeah, it is going to be a little bit deja vu, but let's see if maybe Dunpro can really try to keep it up, because they're really good at getting these incremental leads. But once momentum swings over to IDS, I gotta say, I don't think there's anyone that has such a track record as they do for how well they can really get these games through. Or really
I don't know if
keep
you've been watching the LCK at all, but T1 recently completed their 18-0 season, so congratulations for them. But at the same time, they have game styles that are very similar to this, where sometimes the early game will be a bit messy. They'll like have some flubs and some mistakes. But then around like the 20-25 minute mark, they'll just have one team fight where they win, and they just say, hey, the game's over now. We've won. It's over. Speaking of it being over, Second Wind taking a lot of damage. Heal comes through from Zalp. Gonna keep his support alive. Zalp has the blue buff. There's the exhaust to come down. Blue is flashing forward, not flashing, but dashing forward aggressively. The Ignite's coming through. He's not even gonna burn his own flash. Zalp gonna pick up his second kill of the game. A nice hook from second wind is gonna catch out Hard Only for Bard. There's no damage coming through, and the hook comes in under tower. Hard Only for Bard punishes Roach for overextending. And speaking of overextending, XVII also gonna get punished in the mid lane. So Wronger picks up his first kill of the game.
Really well played for both sides, honestly. Starting off with OG Roach coming from the bot lane gank, catching out Clue, managed to get quite a bit off of that. And then followed it up by a good hook from Hard Only for Bard. And not only was a good hook, he also paired it up with being positioned near tower, so he can just run around it real quick before OG Roach can really get that last auto attack in. He's building lethality, so it's very possible that he could have getting that kill on Hard Only for Bard if he didn't block at least a couple of those bullets by the tower by hiding behind it a little bit. And then for that gank, really well done, really putting down the pressure onto XVII, make him really keep him down in order to make sure that the game doesn't go out of hand. Because we saw last game, he played Corki, he scaled up, he got, when I say scaled up, he finished one item, the Mermana, but it's a very gold efficient item, and he really just ran away with the game with that.
Yeah, just take a note at how many tiers you're seeing in the inventories of everybody right now, and think about how many of them are going to be completed into actual, like, full items. I had an idea. I was talking about this with my friend a little while ago. I was thinking that the tier items should just be turned into mythic items, maybe give them better stats and have the legendary effect be like, hey, get this much mana and this much, like, base stat. Like, for Manamune, just give, like, mana and base AD, or like, for Fimbulwinter, mana and health. Because it feels like on their own right now, they make champions so strong. Like Rise with this Fimbulwinter build, Corki with this Manamune build, Kaisa now abusing the Manamune as well. It just feels very difficult to play around. Speaking of playing around, a nice hook in Hard Only for Bard. Again, Silence comes through. Zalp did not get the rocket jump in time. Is going to take the arcane shot from Clue to the back. Take him down. Second wind. Going to try and get revenge for his 80 carry, but it's a double kill for Clue.
And a nice double kill indeed. Able to get a pretty nice lead. They have a little bit of that control for the Dragon Pit as well. So they are going to be able to contest for this. This is about a 2.5k gold lead. Which is pretty substantial. They're about to get a Drake in order to try to swing it a little bit better for themselves, and it is going to be the Mountain Drake as well. Extra resistances all around for whoever wants to grab them.
No Cloud Souls so far. Not even a single Cloud Dragon so far, I think, in this whole series. So keeping our fingers crossed that we don't see many of them. Shyvana does like having the extra dragons and the extra resistances stacked on top of her passive, which gives her advantages for taking dragons anyway. You're never going to say no to a couple of extra free stats in that regard.
You're absolutely never going to say no to that. But, interesting to note, looks like the Shyvana is going to be opting in for a Sunfire cape instead of the Frostfire. Going to be losing out a little bit that utility from the slows for a little bit extra damage that the Sunfire provides.
Yeah, the extra damage, along with the tenacity that it can bring, which I think in this game in particular is important, as you do want the Ninja Tabbies to stop Tristana and Graves from just sort of hitting you twice and murdering you, but not wanting to give up the tenacity that you would want against the Nautilus and the Syndra and the Ornn especially. Hard Only for Bard is going to suss that gank, or is going to suss that positioning out. Nice use of the sweeper to get positioning on Zalp. The hook is not going to land, but I'm not sure he wants to take that trade anyway, despite the shutdown gold being in favor of the WR Gaming bot lane. This is a full item build on this Tristana with Halo Blades. That's a scary champion to trade against.
Yeah, very much so. It's not going to be like similar to how press the attack hurts, but it's going to hurt in the sense it's like 3 auto attacks goes by real quickly. Oh, okay, nice. I like the respect that Zalp gives also to the hooks. Hard Only for Bard has gotten really good hooks in this bot lane so far. So already just going ahead and using the rocket jump, even if it's just to a very short distance, to ensure that you don't, get absolutely demolished by a rare hook.
There's the hook in from Second Wind. Ignite's coming down. Chihuahua Dog is here. A nice hook in. This seems to be how the bot lane goes every time. Second Wind engages hard only for Bard. Gets the hook back, and now Clue is on a killing spree. OG Roach is here. Chihuahua Dog barely had to do anything to get the assist on that gank. Clue pressing forward. Gets that 20% crit from the Essence Reaver. Mystic Barrage is not going to come through, and all of the burst comes through from Zalp and OG Roach. A little bit of an overstep from Clue means shutdown gold. Goes over to Zalp.
Yeah, really good from OG Roach there. He saw the opportunity whenever Clue got a little too, confident and decided to charge up the True Shot Barrage. It has a little bit of a cast time on that one, so if you do try to commit for it, and it will leave you exposed to OG Roach, who can just walk at you for a little bit. You managed to get the flash off, but that wasn't enough alongside the Arcane Shifter to get you to a little bit of safety. Either way, it is going to be a kill over for Zalp, and putting him up to 3-1. He builds the last Whisper already. He recognizes the armor that's already on the team from Dudbro Gaming and realizes, I'm going to get pretty good value out of a LDR pretty soon.
Oh, XVII flashes forward. It's a collapse from both sides. Here's the Shen ulti coming in on top of Straubinger. He is so tanky with the stats. XVII finally goes down. Chihuahua Dog picks up that kill. That Second Wind picked up basically as an afterthought. A double kill goes over to Chihuahua Dog. And now Kovu is going to start chasing down OG Roach. The red buff is going to slow him down, but Clue has rotated up. Kovu is going to steal that kill away from Zeta Carry, saying, thank you very much. I worked very hard for this. That one's mine.
And another one fight for Dudbro Gaming here. They're looking pretty good so far. It's looking pretty dire for IDS at the moment here. 4K gold deficit, but I mean, this is a sense of deja vu.
Gold deficit at 17 minutes with a dragon to each side? I feel like I've seen this game before.
This is just a really weird sense I'm getting. But no shot it happens again, right? No shot.
There's no way the same thing happens where OG Roach goes over the wall, steals the dragon on this next dragon take, and then his team wins the fight, and then the game goes all in favor of IDS. There's no way we see the same game happen twice in a row, right? There's no way.
There's no shot. There's no shot. The Corki's on the other side. He's about to finish his own Manamune, so then he's going to be doing tons of damage. And
yeah, also interesting to note, Savronger has opted for a different kind of build. He's a little bit more respectful than I would say XVII was in the first game, getting the Hex Drinker as his first real completed item before he even started stacking the full Manamune, and is going to look to get the Ravenous Hydra next, as opposed to the Luden's Tempest that we saw from XVII. I
do like a little bit of a change up here. He's opting in for a little bit more of that pushing power, a little bit of healing. Oh, looks like the blue side did get the dragon,
but this time, but a nice hook in. A great rocket jump out from Zalp means that the kill does not come through. Hard only for Bard. Held that silence just a little too long. XVII is going to protect the remnants of this top lane tower. Not even plates on it to protect. Just trying to deny the, not even first tower blood, just the outer top lane tower from going down.
Okay, they didn't. Okay, he didn't know, because I was very curious with that minion just almost in that bush. I was curious that it was giving off a little bit of vision because it was doing attacks from the bush.
Oh, OG Roach gets hooked in. Hardly for Bard has looked so good on this Blitzcrank in this game so far. OG Roach takes his 5th death of the game. He's not looking super comfortable on this Graves pick, and now with the pressure, it looks like Dudbro are going to try and get another hook in! The rocket jump gets cancelled! Hard only for Bard, you mad lad!
Oh my goodness. It looks like this is going to be getting, maybe the first, not first tower, but the next tower here in the bot lane. We got 4 people down here, 3 once, Chihuahua Dog leaves. Oh, never mind. 1 person in the bot lane here, but a solo tower gold for Clue. Not going to say no to that. He's pretty much done with his Menamune once he... There it is.
Yeah, and once he actually gets back to base, it'll stack up fairly quickly, and he'll be on that 2-item power spike. I do like that we're seeing the Demonic Embrace come out from Chihuahua Dog. I wonder what that 3rd item is going to be from him, as he doesn't have the slowing utility from the Frostfire Gauntlet. How is he going to choose to stick on top of the opponents that he's dealing with?
Yeah, there is definitely a couple ways you can look at this. If he wants to lean a little bit more for his AP, he could go over allies. It's a pretty mana stat inefficient item, I believe. Not a lot of people like building it, even with the slow on it. It just doesn't feel amazing. For the amount of stats you're really getting with that item, helps a little bit that you have demonic embrace, but still not amazing.
It's crazy to see the difference between the slowing items for AD and AP, whereas everyone loves building the Cyrilda's Grudge because it gives you percentage armor pen and cooldown reduction, which are such insanely good stats. Whereas Rylai's gives you AP and health, and that is it.
AP, health, and now you get to slow with your abilities. Congratulations.
Yeah, and Cyrilda's Grudge, it's not like you slow with your auto attacks with Cyrilda's. It's still only abilities, but it's just the difference in stats means that Cyrilda's is so much more efficient. It has a much nicer build path. It just feels better to have in inventory than Rylai's does.
You know, honestly, I thought Shirilda's applied on all physical damage, but you know, now that I think about it, like trying to imagine the text abilities makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, especially if every AD carry could apply a slow on every single one of their auto attacks, it would be a little strong. It's the reason why you see Ezreal build it so much. Oh, heartily for Bard. Nice flashing, but a great rocket jump cancel from Zalp. Heat of the moment, doesn't even have to lose his own flash. Very nicely played. Oh, but we want the fight to continue on the bot side. XDM takes a lot of damage from this Shen. Trying to get a bit of damage back, but it's going to take a tower shot in response. Finally, Gem Top is going to take that top tower. Oh, nice flash away from XDM. The Unleash power comes through, and the Scatter the Weak to take down Kovu.
And with that, a nice little shift of leads is going to be going over. Still a very substantial 5k or 4.5k gold lead for in favor of Dugro Gaming, but a nice shift that we got 2 powers. On top of that, we got 2 objective bounties, so a total of an additional 500 gold there alongside of the kill. That's going to be another 300 gold. And towers itself, I think it's 300 gold each, so 5 plus 9 is 14, so 1400 gold. All within the span of like a minute.
Yeah, we're seeing IDS start to turn the game again. There was no dragon to be stolen, but they did claim that 3rd dragon, so if they can get their hands on this 4th one that spawns, that'll get them to that soul point. And more tank stats for this Ornn, and even for the Nautilus and for the Graves, making them more difficult to kill, are important little breakpoints for them to find.
Now, I meme a lot about how Cloud Drake was the highest win rate Drake. I want to know what it is now that there's a 5th Drake in the midst. What's the highest win rate Drake?
I have to imagine it's Hex Tech, but we might have to put a pause on that. Only for Bard. Gonna get the hook in. Second Wind tries to cancel it out, but no wall to be found there. The Blitzcrank has looked insane in this game. And with Second Wind being down when this Dragon starts up, I think that just means that Dubro almost for sure have this Drake. There's no way OG Roach finds a way to steal this, right?
Yeah, no shot. There's no way, and there's no way to start a fight either. So now it's going to be tied up to dragons once again here. Oh, we're looking for something though.
There's the fight. Valkyrie package big in, huge damage from Stronger, but the damage is going to come back through. There's the Shen ulti on top of him. Gem Top finally goes down. OG Roach tries to get the burst in, but hard only for Bard. Going to survive. Clue gets the picks the kill on XDM. Now Kovu is just going to walk OG Roach out of this fight. Say, hey, Graves, nice auto attacks you got there. It's too bad my name is Shen. And another hook from hard only for Bard. He can't miss. He's too clean.
He is simply too clean on this Blitzcrank. This is amazing. This night and day difference, honestly, when we're comparing him for playing the Nautilus in the previous game to this Blitzcrank. Similar ideas of what to do, but Blitzcrank just does it with a so much more punishing sort of behavior. And it works out so well. And it looks like now the Baron is going to be taken up by Dubro Gaming. No steal. We're secured. And now we're going to be looking to see what can we do with this. I'm going to be looking to push anything immediately. It's going to get our bats, get our purchases. It makes our buys. Clue grabbing that Cyrilda's Grudge that we were mentioning before. Veringer buying the Ravenous Hydra, so we're going to be able to do a little bit more damage, a little bit more healing, and a little bit better wave clearing as well. Which, honestly, with their team, definitely needs that sort of wave clearing.
Here's where I quiz your color casting. You were talking about how you knew the ornaments very well. The first upgrade has come through, and it's on Tristana. What's that item called?
And it's Worm Fellet, or it's the Worm Feller. That's it.
I think it's,
WYRM Feller.
if I'm remembering right, it's Wormfallen Sacrifice?
It might be Sacrifice, yeah. Practice, yeah, instead of Slayer, it's not
Exium.
Sacrifice. Ooh, a little bit crazy. We do also have
There's
to.
the ulti in from Chihuahua Dog. Exium, you are in the wrong neighborhood. Tries to get the burst down on this wronger, but the magic resist, little too potent coming out from the Hex Drinker. And now I don't want to say you're getting gapped, Exium, but the scorelines don't lie.
Yeah, you know what they say, game two's for the fans.
Yeah, if it's not game 1, it's game 2, for sure.
Yeah, and if it's not game two, well, the series over. My bad. And then Orn is also running that Rhyme Fort. Oh no.
Another hook in from Hardly for Barda. The burst coming through onto OG Roach, but he's alone right now. Chihuahua Dog finally comes in. Lando's last auto attacks. There's the True Shot Barrage over the top. Doesn't end up claiming the kill, but again, Hard Only for Bard cannot miss.
He is one potent support here right now. He is doing an amazing job finding these picks. Even if it was just OG Roach slightly over the wall right there, it's still making the difference in getting these picks pushing and really getting these advantages for them. And
it feels very sad when you look at the Graves itemization right now. OG Roach, because he's gotten such little gold and because he's had to play pretty much utility Graves, he had to pick up the Serpent's Fang to try and counter the Shen ulti. Because that's really the only shield aside from like Blitzcrank's Locket and his passive. Other than that, it's really only Shen. And to see Graves be put in that position just never feels good.
Never feels good indeed. But oh yeah. Anyways, let's go ahead and check that Tristana item. It is Worm Funnel Sacrifice. There it is.
It's one of like a very few that I actually know, so I was really happy that that was the first one that got upgraded.
Yep, and then I know this one's Rhyme Forge Gauntlet or something like that. Grasp, so close. It was False Fire Gauntlet, and then it's Grasp. Yes. Let's see. Do you know what the new Even Shroud is?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. I just look at the bright colors and tell you what's going on in the fight. I don't know what's happening with like the numbers behind the scenes.
That is fair. I mean, I literally while we were in draft, I looked up what was Even Shrouds because I was like, what if Nautilus builds it? I know like we don't really look for it, or like a lot of engaged sports don't really necessarily go for it. But just looking at it, it's Equinox.
Oh, OG Roach. Speaking of engaged supports, Chihuahua Dog has found his way in. Clue is just going to burst him out before OG Roach can get any damage down. Now in the 5 versus 4 second win, puts the depth charge down to try and escape. Flashes away, but I don't think there's any escape for you, buddy. Knocked up. Clue goes on a rampage. This is an 8-2 Ezreal. This is the Ezreal we were hoping to see last game, and he is feeling good.
Feeling quite himself in this match right now. And it's looking pretty well. Gen Top looking for an engage, seeing if he can do anything to get him off.
Forge God, I think just to clear away the ways, but another hook from Hardly for Bard is going to punish the Ord. You have overstepped, sir. Ignite ticks him away. The Blitzcrank goes on his own killing spree.
Yeah, he will manage to get 3 kills for himself, so this is looking pretty good. But, ooh, good flash.
Ooh, Exium! Nice flash away. Hardly for Bard is going to be taking up damage from the towers. But Kovu is just going to kill Exium anyway! The flash is in the wrong direction, right into the waiting arms of Shen. Zal taking a lot of damage from Savronger on the backside of that fight. It looks like this is just Dudbro feeling themselves in this draft. They got full comfort, and they are just running away with this game.
Alright, so do we treat this like a karma game and say that Nautilus is cursed this series? Or are we saying that Control Mages are cursed this series? Or is it just whoever has 2 ADCs on their team is better?
I'm not going to say that before the series was going on, I was talking about how Nautilus, like, is fine, but he's not, like, the best. I'm not going to say I was talking about that and mention that Enchanters would be pretty good against Blitzcrank, but I did mention it. It was a point I threw out.
Yeah, he was throwing out in the wind and seeing whatever catches. And right now it's not looking too amazing at the moment for playing behind, but hey, we still have quite a bit of time left before the match finishes. We will see. We are going to be circling around this Baron. Looks like this is going to be the next objective that we're going for. Double Gaming just not necessarily being able to find a way to finish off the game just yet. But they are going to be looking for the Baron in order to try to push a little bit closer to that end.
Yeah, this game is going a little bit slower, a little bit more of what we expected from the drafts that are going on. These champions that want to scale, they want to get into the late game. Those 3-item power spikes, maybe even 4 if you can hit that luxury sort of power. And with the Baron going down for free, IDS not even going to attempt to stop that one, just trying to defend their base as much as they can. It feels like this Baron buff is probably going to spell the end of the game.
Yeah. Probably, I would say. There is still quite a bit of discrepancy when it comes to how much you need ground you really need to make to fight against these teams. So we're looking at the gold leads, which I haven't looked in a little bit. We're at around 15k. Well, yeah, 15k at the moment. It's quite quite the lead. And that's all. That's not including Ornn items. It's giving about 1,000 each, but that's then just making it 11k.
Yeah, and at that point, you really have to be saying, like, yeah, the Ornn was a good pick, but, like, we just got outpicked. And speaking of getting outpicked, OG Roach, again, it just deleted before he can get any tank stats built up, before he can do damage to anybody. Exdium with the True Shot Barrage. Clue is going to force him out of this fight and back into his own fountain. The Nexus Towers are the target. Second Wind gets hooked in, and the hook goes wide again. Gem Top looks for the Call of the Forge. Got to try and get any sort of damage down. Chihuahua Dog, Legendary and Deathless on this Shyvana. There's the Shed ulti to make sure that this Shyvana stays that way. Fireball's coming through. He's doing lots of damage to Exdium. Just tanking the towers. He does not care. He's sitting on that Sunfire Cave. Zoronger going to go on a killing spree. Zalba's jumping in. Lots of damage onto Zoronger, but the Zhonya's comes through. He's going to stay just fine. Kovu gets the taunt in. Gem Top, the last one alive, and it is a clean ace for DBG, and we've got ourselves a series.
Yep, it looks like we will be moving on over to Game 3 here. Congratulations to Dudbro Game. You guys managed to find your footing and not let go of it anytime soon. So that means we will be moving on over to Game 3. Congratulations to that. And we'll be right back with another game once we take a little bit of a break. Ta-da! Alright, we are back with our third game of the series here with between ID Solaris and Dudbro Gaming. We saw game one gives everyone whiplash about how that turned around from Dudbro Gaming 4K gold lead to ID Solaris, was it probably 5K gold lead? Because they ended
I
just
think
so
it was,
quickly.
yeah, it was 3 or 4. It was a quick win.
It was a quick win because like they didn't have time to generate another gold lead because they won one team fight into another team fight and then started pushing mid until they backed off a little bit, took Baron, and then won another team fight and then took the rest of the base. Um, while over here in game two, we had a little bit more normal game where you're not just seeing the gold shift from one side to the other, where Bloodborne Gaming was getting a lot of nice incremental leads, really building themselves up, and really just didn't let ID Solaris find their foothold back into the game here. And now we're here in game three between ID Solaris and Bloodborne Gaming, with the first pick being Zeri.
Yeah, IDS Solaris has been banning away the Zeri on blue side, but now they are opting to ban away the Blitzcrank instead, away from Hard Only for Bard, who put on, I would say, a bit of a showcase on the on the Blitzcrank last game. But now with the Zeri being freed up, it looks like Zalp is going to take that one into his hands, and I think be fairly happy picking that one up. Um, it's a very good champion of the meta right now. She's got a pretty versatile build set, even though everyone always goes Triforce into Titanic Hydra.
Yeah, it is an interesting build because it's built on all interesting interactions she has from just her Q being an auto attack, not an ability. And it's similar but very different to how like Ezreal works because it's an ability that's also an auto attack. This is just straight up an auto attack. That applies on hit effects. It attacks multiple times, so you get Black Cleaver. So one Q procs your whole Black Cleaver. Sure, there's other ADCs like Ashe and Shamira that does a very similar thing, where one auto attack basically applies to all of it. But then you have other things like if your Q hits separate minions, it procs multiple times. So then your wave clear is really good. You get Triforce because you actually kind of like the tank stats, honestly. And also the little bit extra movement speed you get up from there too. It's all generally good things. And then what else? Oh, and then Runeans because it procs your chain lightning.
It procs the chain lightning. It doesn't give you the movement speed stacks anymore,
Yeah.
but it still procs the damage from it, and it procs the Titanic, and it procs the extra damage from the Sheen procs. It's a lot of the items really carrying the fact that you can press that Q button over and over and over and over and over and get a Sheen proc pretty much every time. But speaking on the rest of the draft itself, it's looking like a fairly standard draft for this series with the Braum and the Zac being picked up for ID Solaris. The Tristana is going to go into the hands of Dudbro this time around, with the Nautilus and the Corki staying that way as well.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised that they decided to go with a Tristana instead of Ezreal, but I do like the idea because Tristana has a better up close encounter against a Zeri. Zeri is pretty strong whenever she gets in front of you. Not too strong whenever she's in laning phase. She really shines when it comes to team fights. Um, but Ezreal really shines whenever team fights are a little bit longer. You can get a little bit more poke out. But Zeri kind of just rushes down a lot of team fights. So I like the Tristana more. It's a little faster. It does like equal damage. You're just not in the safe range that the Ezreal needs to be. And then of course we got Corki. Third time in a row. Just good. Just good.
Yeah, the bans coming through on the second round as well. Dubro Gaming keeping very similar bans as they have through the whole series. The Aurelia and the Silas going to be taken away out of the hands of XVII, not allowing him on those comfort picks. He didn't look great on the Syndra last game. I gotta say, the Corki really was outperforming him in that series. Maybe he'll try and come back with a vengeance on a spicier pick this time around. We were talking about Jarvan mid being a potential pick as the Mumu is locked in the jungle for Dudbro.
Yeah, you will be locked in for the jungle. And then we'll see a nice bats back pick from ID Solaris to really see what is going to be our last two lanes, the mid and the top. I'm sure they're talking about it right now. It's going to be maybe Victor. Honestly, I think I like the Victor a little bit better. Yeah, a little bit more like mobility compared to Syndra. You don't have as much damage potential. You don't have the one-shot buttons. But if you've seen in the past two series how often that Edsteam has been getting ganked because they understand how much pressure that Edsteam really provides for the team. Uh, they want to make sure that things don't get out of hand. It's going to allow Victor in the mid lane, who has a lot more mobility, to avoid some of these ganks. Try to dodge these bandage toss and not get caught out so often. And now the Garen might be returning top lane. He will be returning top lane.
Yeah, it looks like the blind pick for IDS is going to be that Garen on the top side again. I would say it performed pretty well on the top side, despite how much I memed the health trades up there. The Garen looks like it could do more than the Scion, but I want to attribute that more to Scion opting for the Hullbreaker as opposed to something more standard like the Frostfire or the Sunfire cape.
Yeah, it is interesting nevertheless, and we'll see. Last pick here is going to be Wukong. I like it. It's
That's a spicy draft from Dudbro.
Dudbro got a lot of CC under it. They got three tank. They got three tank-ish people, but all three of them are pretty good engage. And then you have Corki to follow it up with the package, and then Tristana to maybe assassinate someone with her rocket jump in, get a kill, rocket jump out. Unlikely with how much defense that comes out of ID Solaris, but regardless, um, something to be wary about with how much wombo combo that Dudbro has in their kits.
Yeah, I think I really like both of these drafts. It's a pretty interesting idea from Dudbro where they have this wombo combo, like you were talking about, the Amumu and the Wukong, especially able to apply so much AoE crowd control and damage. Could really shake up a team fight where ID Solaris is, like we were talking about in game one, this very safe, very standard front to back team fight. We've got our tanks in the front line, we've got our damage dealers back line. Nobody's doing any special flanks, anything like that. Just very stock standard League of Legends.
Yeah, it is gonna be quite interesting when we go into lanes. How about we talk about some of the lane states? Let's start off from the bot with the Zeri Braum versus Tristana Nautilus interactions. What do you think that's going to be turning out here?
We saw even with IDS not being in the greatest spot in that game, the Tristana Nautilus still had damage coming out in the laning phase. They were able to make good trades, and now Tristana not having to worry about using the rocket jump to get away from a Blitzcrank, can use it instead a little bit more aggressively into the Zeri. Maybe a bit dangerous jumping into Braum, but just having the option to take that aggressive path instead of purely using it for defense, I think would be is a better state, at least for the Tristana Nautilus lane to be in. But Zeri Braum has what I would call the scaling advantage because Braum has great peeling potential and can peel away Nautilus pretty effectively. Zeri is going to scale into that tanky DPS bruiser build that Zeri gets to build. And that's really going to be how the lane ends up. When Zeri gets tanky enough and Tristana can't Halo Blades one-shot her, Zeri gets to win the trade.
Yeah, sorry, one sec. Bringing something up because Plant Cat's going a little crazy with it at the moment, but yeah. How about we talk a little bit about this mid lane as well? Sorry, just need to settle this real quick.
The Corki versus the Victor. We're going to be seeing Corki versus a control mage for the third time in this series, and most of the time, it's been Corki favored. I would say as the game goes on because Corki hits that 2 or 3 item power spike and eventually just deletes your enemy champions because he's got man immune with his rockets and ends up being in a pretty good spot. Whereas Victor, not the same kind of control mage as we've seen from the Anidia and the Syndra. He is much more of a ticking time bomb, similar to something like Vigar is, where eventually he gets the stacks on his passive. Victor is going to do the same thing with his passive and eventually get all of his abilities upgraded. And then he becomes a monstrous damage threat who also has a lot of utility.
Yeah, it's going to be quite interesting, and they're going to hit pretty similar power spikes, honestly. Victor is not as linear for item-wise because of his newer passives with his head scores. It's not as linear, because once he gets like a mini power spike whenever he gets each one of those head score fragments completed. So it's gonna be interesting to see, uh, like how will that necessarily affect his laning state, especially when you're going against a single item and in a Corki that's just pretty strong. Can your passive keep up with that? It's going to be really a big question. Can your passive plus one item can really keep up with how efficient Manumune really works? As a,
It's the ticking time bomb stacks of, hey, who's gonna stack faster? Corky getting his man immune or Victor getting his stacks first.
be quite interesting. If we're going to move it over to a little bit in the top into the jungle, OG Road versus Amumu, I'll be honest, there's not much to say about for the scaling wise. It's really going to be looking for what can they do for their laners. Zac and Amumu both have really great ganks. So you have Zac who can find some of these really interesting angles, try to look for ganks because of his elastic slingshot. He can go a little bit behind enemy lines, try to get an interesting angle there, or just go very straightforward, maybe go for an in-lane gank, hiding in a bush and whatnot. It's going to be cool, and we saw in previous games that OG Roach was doing that as well, like ganking mid lane from enemy raptors. Uh, just something of that nature is going to be pretty interesting to see, as well as now we're going to have a Mumu in the midst who doesn't get as much freedom as a Zac does when it comes to creative ganking potential, but there is still a lot of ways that it's a standalone threat in itself. I mean, you're throwing out a very important CC that has a pretty decent sized hitbox on it, so you need to be respectful about it. And he can like dash right in on top of you, but he also has that ulti to combo CC you alongside with. So if we're going to be keeping up a little bit of the pressure from like previous games, I can imagine that Mumu is going to be trying to fill in a lot of the CC for Corki whenever he goes mid lane in order to try to really pressure onto Edstium on that Victor. He really needs to dodge these bandage shots, but once he dodges that, uh, Edstium's going to have a pretty easy-ish time, and I would say. Not easy in the sense like I mean you're still going against Corki, it's a ticking time bomb, but easy in the sense that well you only have to dodge one ability, just make sure you dodge it.
Yeah, it is going to be about the positioning on this Victor and on this Zeri, because once Zeri scales up in the team fight with her ulti and gets that movement speed stacks, she's going to be impossible for this for the Dubro Gaming side to actually deal with her. The only point and click crowd control is from this Nautilus with his ultimate ability. And I guess a Mumu with his and Wukong with their AoE knockups, but once those are burned, those are ultimate abilities. Once they're done, they're not going to be coming back up in the team fight, and Zeri's going to be sprinting around the map, free hitting. So unless they really well and truly one shot both her and Victor in a fight, I feel like these fights can really go in favor of Solaris.
Definitely can go in the way. Let's see. We'll have to see how that really turns out here. We still have about a minute left in these timers, and well, honestly, it kind of ran down. We're getting to game three here. I'm running out of things to say. We don't have an Orin in order for me to try to quiz Britty on what other ornaments are called anymore. So I'm running out of things. Hey, remember when Blue Kong was a thing? Bunch of blue items. Frozen.
Oh, blue Kong. I was very confused as to what you said. I couldn't understand the words that came out of your mouth, but yeah, blue builds have been I would say fairly prevalent in League of Legends. Whenever there's like a themed item build, it's usually around the color blue. We had blue Ezreal, we had blue Kong.
Yeah.
Those are the only ones that I can really think of, but I can't think of like
Lucian?
any other champion that's been Lucian too. I can't think of like any champion that's been like, oh hey, we're gonna be like red Shyvana or we're gonna be like yellow Zeri. Like this sort of thing just doesn't happen. It's all about the blues.
Yeah, I mean, like, what would yellow be? Or like, okay,
I mean, if it was still in the game, Triforce, Static Shiv, Berserker Greaves,
do we
that's really it.
Zeal and then an IE?
True. I don't think that's even enough crit for you to get the Infinity Edge passive.
And we gotta
oh,
go.
but you can go
We
Kraken
got,
Slayer instead of Trinity Force. That's yellow.
we gotta go back a couple seasons, so we go get our crit contestances, so we get 5% more. So then we have enough for the IE. There you go.
Well, we go back a few seasons when Static Shiv was also in the game, and then the build works. But Zeri wasn't in the game, so that kind of sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there's some middle ground somewhere. We don't know what it is. Right, get on it. You know what it is.
And the immediate pause.
And
Classic League of Legends.
classic League of Legends indeed. But oh, all right. Well, now I'm really running out of things to talk about. I'll be honest. We talked about the interesting interactions that Zeri has with her abilities. Fun fact does not work with Braum, where it's like instant stuns. It's individual
Oh,
each
God,
proc.
imagine.
Oh god. Man.
Imagine.
Well then,
Oh.
in a similar sense, then Braum Shamir or Braum Ash would be broken too, because they also auto attack multiple times. Although Shamir is a little bit more conditional, I don't know how you're going to get the knockup part. But previously, when it was a stun too, there was a lot.
Yeah,
right.
They've made some overloaded kits in the past. Thankfully, as our spectator delay is finally going to tick down and get ourselves into game, it looks like DBG might be looking for a bit of an invade here. Looks like that's what they're posturing for. Oh, what a nice award from Zalp is going to spot that one out. Beautifully placed. Not too aggressive, not too defensive. Catches the invade, sees all 5 members, says no thank you, and walks away.
It's going to be disengaging immediately from that. They're not going to be looking for any sort of engages at the moment, which is pretty so-and-so for, I mean, no advantage gain, no advantage loss, I suppose, is going to be the difference. Interestingly enough, Clue actually bought himself a sweeper.
Yeah, I was about to point that out. It's normally you see the support start with sweeper, and I've been arguing with this for other support mates that I've met that you should just start sweeper, because generally in lane a lot of your trades are dictated about, hey, are you going to be able to like get into this bush and drop minion aggro, or are you going to be able to use it to like dodge auto attacks? It doesn't work against Zeri, but like in general, like denying vision is very, very good. Like second wind right now, sitting on top of a ward, he would be able to see it if he started sweeper. He would also be able to see that he didn't start with any items, which could be detrimental for him in this laning phase.
You know, hey, man, this support guild's gonna be a little bit low income here, but hey, it's alright.
I imagine once we get to the second wave and he's like, okay, I'm gonna start getting my procs to get level 2. Wait, I don't have any procs. What's going on? That's probably when it'll start to realize if he hasn't seen it already. And it's gonna be a bit of a problem because it means Hard Only for Bard is gonna have the executes to get them to level 2 faster, which means that Tristana gets level 2, and that is a spooky situation to be in. We'll see if they can actually press the issue. Doesn't actually look like it. It looks like IDS's bot lane will still get the level 2 mark first, even without the support execute, so they're just built different.
I think it's... Honestly, if you just have the confidence, there's like, oh man, that's just a regular Braum. I don't know why he must have already used his Spoils of War, even though we, like, are literally here with him the entire time, so we would see it.
You can hit tab and see that he doesn't have any items in his inventory. No wards, like pots, nothing.
It's all about confidence at this point, you know?
It's the mental game. It's the mental game.
We lost Candy Minion. It's over.
Force them to miss the Candy Minion. It's the mental game.
Yeah. But jokes aside, I'm thinking that second wind realized it too late with minions already spawning and doesn't want to give up that early aggression to allow Zalp to get some of that free farm and put him in the most vulnerable position. Because honestly, level 1 to 3 is probably the most vulnerable positions for bot lane. In laning phase, that is. In laning phase, it's hands down probably the most. Especially against hook champions. So he didn't want to leave. He will sacrifice his own gold, which is very unfortunate. But he did ensure that Zalp didn't give away an early kill.
It's the support player mentality. You're willing to give up a little bit of gold to make sure your team is in a better position. Unless you're Pyke, in which case you get more gold than everybody else in the game.
Yeah, and then you just say, screw you, I got a new Mystic skin called the Ashen Knight, and I'm playing Dark Souls with an execute.
Oh, we've got a 3v3 in the bottom side. Chihuahua Dog and Oshi Roach are both here. A nice 2-man knockup to deny the bandage toss. Braum stuns are coming through. Zalp has scaled up. Oji Roach is going to flash away. Has the bomb on top of him. Is not going to take him out of the passive. 3 versus 3 and no kills given over. A couple of summoner spells traded just to heal and the flash away from OG Roche for the heal and the ignite from Heart Only for Bard.
Yeah, and good sort of just trades, but both junglers are actually still staying in the bot lane. One staying in the bush, one staying a little bit around, but looks like we're just going to be concluding a little bit of that early game. And, you know, luckily, that's not going to be resulting in too much of a loss at the moment here. We're only seeing a 300 gold difference, which is basically like a wave just swinging back and forth a little bit.
Yeah, generally in the early game, you see between like a couple hundred gold going one team or the other, depending on missed CS, missed cannons, etc.
Etc., etc. But for now, we're going to be keeping on forward here, as it's like it is going to be a little bit of a slower game. Top lane's a little bit more aggressive, which is, well, I honestly, game 2 was probably the most aggressive that we've been. But you know, it's still pretty early on. I believe that Gemtop and Kovu will probably be a lot more aggressive once they get a little bit more of their abilities, because these are pretty fighterish.
Roach, he's made his way up. Kovu does have the invisibility. Oh, but the flash is forced out. Nice placement on those stretchy hands from OG Roach is going to force the flash away from Kovu. Really well played.
Yeah, the stretching strikes. Just knowing that the W, I believe the clone dash ability for Wukong is actually a fixed distance. You can't go any extra, you can't go any less. So, because of that, you can predict a little bit where Wukong's going if you're thinking it's like, okay, well, he has to go towards the tower, so I'm just going to aim at the tower.
Oh, Kovu hits the level 6 mark first. A little bit of spin trading in the top side. Both champions just spinning away, trying to get their damage in. A little bit, I would say, pretty heavily aggressive from Kovu, despite the fact that he's running out of mana. Just taking the level 6 to get the Cyclone in there.
Yeah, I think he's really just trying to get the wave pushing. He has no mana in order to try to go for any commits, and Garen has no mana, period, so he can definitely sustain a little bit longer. He just wants to try to get some of his items, and then try again for maybe another engage.
With the push being in favor of Dubro's bottom lane, it is going to be this early Hextech Dragon in their favor. Second Wind is spotted over the wall. OG Roach is spotted. That sweeper didn't pick up the ward. Wards are in the pit. OG Roach tries to get in, but there's no smite to be had. That's going to go in favor of Chihuahua Dog. Now the rest of IDS are in the pit. Zalp gets the stun down onto Chihuahua Dog, but Goomba stomps. Clue picks up first blood. Doesn't get the Brawn passive proc onto him, but XVII going to get revenge. Pick up Chihuahua Dog on the rebound. Only for Bard is going to get stunned. Nice flash over the wall. Might let him escape. Stretching strikes from OG Roach is not going to pull him back. That means it's just the 1-for-1 with First Blood and the Dragon going in favor of Dubro.
Yeah, really well played there from Clue and Chihuahua Dog, just really diving in. They was like, alright, we're going to get the Dragon. Oh, they're diving in on us? Let's dive in back on them. Unfortunately, Chihuahua Dog did die, but they managed to get the First Blood over for Clue. Managed to try to get a little bit of that early spike for him. And able to forward the Moon Quiver already. And that's going to be pretty impactful, considering that Zalp having that Sheen is actually a pretty nice power spike in itself as well. So managing to kind of even up and also honestly maybe even get ahead on that, having the Moon Quiver alongside the pickaxe in order to try to really square up against Zalp's damage.
Yeah, I think the pickaxe is really going to be the difference maker in these trades. Just that extra 25 AD brings so much in the early game, despite it being not the highest amount of stats. Zeri's Sheen power spike is very high. Once she hits that Sheen, she's going to be a bit of a nuisance in the lane. I wouldn't call her a monster, but at the very least, like, difficult to deal with and a troublesome opponent to face. But with the extra AD coming out from the Moon Quiver and the pickaxe, it means Tristan is going to be a little more comfortable taking these aggressive trades.
Yeah. Pretty much I would say on par with how Ezreal's early game is, in a different sense. You don't get the extra range to poke him out. You instead just have pretty good damage on every auto attack you do. Pretty interesting. I wonder if on Zeri you go Domination Tree just for the Ingenious Hunter, so then your Sheen is on a lower cooldown, so then it really procs on every single Q.
Oh, hard only for Bard. The hook's gonna go wide. Zell missing a couple of auto attacks there means the Braum stun isn't going to come through, but they know Sevronger is rotating down, so they're not going to advance the trade anymore. Chihuahua Dog was on his way down too, which means that nice bit of sense from the side of IDS. But speaking of, there's the all-in from Chihuahua Dog. Clue does not get over the wall with the rocket jump, which means that it's still a little bit in favor of IDS. Second win finally goes down. Chihuahua Dog picks up that kill. Here's the Let's Bounce from OG Roach. Chihuahua Dog forced to flash away. OG Roach wants his way in. There's the Elastic Slingshot. Pick that one up. XVII's going to come in and sweep up the kill on Hard Only for Bard. Now Clue has to rocket jump away. OG Roach maybe he's going to have the Elastic Slingshot in time, but no, the Stretching Strikes do not land on him, which means that he gets to walk away, save his flash.
Able to save his...
Oh, Kovu, I don't think this is the fight you want to take. Gemtop was very much winning that trade. I think if he kept going aggressive, he might have been able to take him out with the Demacian Justice.
Yeah, very much in favor for Gemtop at the moment here. I'm going to be saying that it's going to be a pretty rough game playing as the Wukong in this scenario. Just because Gemtop, one of the Juggernauts, definitely does a lot of damage. His biggest issue is really that he doesn't really have a gap closer. That's generally how it is for most of them. But
ooh, Hex Slash in. There's the hook from Hard Only for Bard. Exnium again. She's caught out of position, but there's the Time War Tonic. The Ignite comes down. This shutdown gold is going to go over to Hard Only for Bard. He tried to donate that one over to his mid laner, but the Time War Tonic proc means that it had to be taken by the support.
Unfortunate, but still fortunate in the sense that they are going to be missing out on minions. Second win, Hard Only just walks over, is like, yo, bro, we're already done. But in any case, it's going to be pretty rough for Etzning. He's missing out on a wave of minions. He's already down about 17 minions, so 2 minion waves already for CS. And I just noticed he also took Summon Area instead of Phase Rush, so he's not looking to get any extra movement speed in order to try to dodge abilities, but instead just doing a little bit extra damage and just general utility for himself.
Yeah, there's generally, like, I think 2 or 3 different runes that Victors tend to go for. It's the First Strike or the Summon Area if you want to do damage, and the Phase Rush if you're playing a little bit more defensive, just trying to save yourself from ganks or dodge away from extremely large skill shots. Something like, say, like Nautilus Hook or Mumu's Bandage Toss, to name a few examples for very big skill shots that are important to dodge.
It is going to be a little bit of a debate on whether or not which one he should have taken, but Scavenger has the package right now, moving towards the bot side, which makes Zalp and second one respected. We'll move back a little bit here, don't want to get tower dove, but because they had to move back means this is going to be another Drake for Dudbro Gaming here.
Yeah, that's the second dragon for Dudbro, and there's the Cloud Dragons. We were avoiding them all series, but in this all-important Game 3, we have the Cloud Soul. Kovu, with a little bit of tricksy movement with the Wukong clone, is going to be able to escape that top lane gank in the 1 versus 3. Now Zalp is going to be the one in trouble. 1 versus 4 underneath the tower. There is no escape. Hard Only for Bard is going to be forced to flash away from the tower shots, but that is a clean gank, nevertheless.
Yeah, it is going to be the first tower for ID Solaris, and it's going to be evening up that gold lead now. That is quite huge, honestly.
Second one is going to put down the Glacial Fissure, put the wall in the wrong direction. It feels like IDS might be, I'm not gonna try and make any statements about where they are mentally in this game, but it feels like they're a bit tilted on the bottom side of the map, despite how hard their top side is winning.
Well, there is a little bit of that distinction is that you gotta recognize, like, sometimes the game's out of your hands, you just let it happen for the top side.
Longer, the Elastic Slingshot comes in, there's the Let's Bounce and the Demacian Justice, a nice flash over the wall, means Corky's gonna survive. Here's the Stretching Strikes from Zach, a little bit of damage coming into the movement, but he's very tanky on this pick. Red Smite's gonna come through. OG Roach, Elastic Slingshots, gets himself out of there, puts up the peace sign, says, peace, I'm out of here. They're just gonna take that second inner tower and walk away.
Are going to be able to walk away there. And now is looking over. This is going to be a solid one.
This is a big minion wave. There's the lightning rush from Zalp, but I don't know if he has enough damage. The heal comes through. The damage is going to be close. Zalp's going to win it out the 1v1. Oh my lord.
That was a lethal tempo difference right there. Able to get enough attack speed in order to try to get that one extra Q in and take down Clue. I like the idea. Clue did pretty well what he needed to do. He dropped his bomb over onto Salp in order to kill most of the minion wave whenever he finished proccing that. He jumped on top of him to re-engage after he used the Buster Shot, and got quite a bit of damage in, but slight downfall is that you took the Halo Blades, which is great for your first 3 auto attacks. It's great for short trades. We love those. But we don't love the fact that, in the little bit longer fights where, in this very niche instance, the lethal tempo was able to beat you out. And unfortunately,
there are two things that could have changed the course of that fight. If the minion wave was a little bit smaller, or if Clue had opted for press the attack instead of Halo Blades. Either one of those changes, I think it's Clue's favor, but the minions just did a little bit too much damage. Speaking of, Gemtop may have overstepped his boundaries a little bit there. Nice flash away from the Curse of the Sad Mummy. Hard for Bard. Nice knockup onto XVII as he flashes into the fight. Nice stun in means Hard for Bard. He is going to get picked up by XVII for his 3rd kill of the game. He's getting the stacks on these Hex Core upgrades pretty quickly as he's got 100 farm in his pocket as well. Gemtop is going to teleport up to top lane to save that tower, while XVII is just going to put a little bit of pressure on this bottom side.
Little bit of pressure.
Chihuahua Dog wants in, but he's got no mana. Braum passive comes through. A nice stun. Envy Elastic Slingshot as well. Teleport's coming in from Kovu, but Chihuahua Dog is going to die way before that teleport can come through. And that means OG Roshan's 2nd wind. The 2 tanks just found their pick pretty quick.
And now, that's interesting.
Oh, the stretching strikes is gonna pull hard only for Bard back into this the blast cone, but now OG Roche might be the one in trouble. Kogu has the flank route with the Cyclone. There's the passive proc away from OG Roche, and I don't think his team is gonna be able to come and support him. Shutdown Gold goes over to Savronga. Oh, Clued is not done yet, though. There's the Halo Blades procs, trying to get damage onto 2nd wind, but he's got the stand behind me. He'll be fine. He'll just be able to walk away from that one.
Alright. Able to walk away from that at the moment here, and it's such an interesting day that we got on our hands at the moment. Over on the top side, I mean, it's all pretty much taken, so which is like a good and bad thing. Good thing, top lane, whenever you push a wave, it's going to have a little bit more of an impact because it makes it further down the lane. So then you have a little bit extra time in order to try to pressure somewhere else on the map. But at the same time, because of that, it's being pushed so far into the map, it's also adding a little security for Dudbro Gaming in order to get a sort of fast lane for farm. They can grab the top jungle and then grab that top minion wave and then get it right back pushing the other way.
Yeah, I do want to say, despite what is what I would say the momentum lead and the series lead for Dudbro right now, the gold lead is pretty heftily in favor of IDS right now, with 2k gold lead in their pockets, despite being 2 dragons down, and despite the kills being relatively even. Just a lot of that extra gold coming from the towers that they were able to take down so early in the game on that top side. They are going to secure the dragon. Here's the engaged Chihuahua Dog. Has the Curse of the Sad Mummy. He's just waiting to pop it. Finds it onto 3. And there's the package in from Saronga. Big damage, but he gets deleted on the backside by Zalp. Now Zeri is starting to lightning rush. It's a double kill for her, but it's also a double kill for this Corki. XVII is finally going to get blown up. It's a double kill also for the support. Hard only for Bard. Finds 2 in that fight, and that is 4 for 2 in favor of Dudbro. I guess I spoke a little too soon.
Yeah, it was looking, honestly, very good. In that team fight, Zeri does thrive quite well when it comes to team fights, but this is a little bit early in the point where she would really do so. Only having the Triforce, not having Runaan's Hurricane just yet. But with how close that fight was, honestly, it's going to be interesting to see how the next fights will go whenever Zeri does have to Runaan's Hurricane, if they can really overcome that little bit of a bump they need to get over. While Dudbro Gaming, they fought a deficit and won it. That was pretty good.
Yeah, they evened up the gold score now, and with the second Rift Herald being taken, I'm sure they'll be able to take at least 1 or 2 of these extra towers on the outside of the map, which means that there's more gold for them to pick up as the game goes on. I do wonder, maybe if Zalp opts instead of for the the Zeal if he instead goes for the I'm gonna forget the name of the item, but the precursor to the Titanic Hydra, the Tiamat, that's what it's called. Maybe he gets a little bit more damage down in the team fight instead of opting for what I would say is the utility of the extra movement speed and attack speed that comes from the Zeal. I wonder if maybe that could have done the difference.
Yeah, it's very possible, but that would also change his build path a little bit, where it's just delaying that Rune's Hurricane a little bit longer. And I think at this point of the game, I don't know, I haven't seen too many Zeries, but I feel like at this point in the game, you really want to try to get that Rune's Hurricane online to really enable your true team fight prowess that Zeri brings, and really wins out the mid game if they can do that.
Yep, ID Solaris is going to siege down this tier 1 mid tower eventually. Chihuahua Dog gets the Curse of the Sad Mummy onto 1, and now the fight starts as the tower goes down. Zeri is lightning rushed up. Gemtop, Samasian Justice down on Chihuahua Dog, and that's 1 kill already. XDM trying to find his way into the fight, but there's no extra damage to be had. Just drops the Chaos Storm. In the meantime, Kogu's on the bottom side of the map. The wave dies, but the Herald is here, which I think means that tower is going to go all the way down. So it'll be 1-for-1 towers across the map. But that's 1 kill in IDS's pocket.
1-for-1 towers is nice to see, especially with if you consider that both outer mid lane towers have been taken down as well. That means the map has been opened up here top lane wise for in favor for IDS, because they already took down all that all of that area. So if Dudbro Gaming tries to go a little bit further and push up, they are way further away from any sort of safety, while on the bot side, if we're looking for dragons, is a little bit in favor for Dudbro Gaming, having already taken that bot side.
I will say this early game has been much cleaner from IDS as opposed to what we saw in game 1 and 2. They're playing it more methodically. They're playing to their champions' strengths. They're not letting these small team fight advantages really get away from them. They're playing it much cleaner than what we saw in game 1 and 2, and I think if they continue with this cleanliness that we're seeing in this early game and can move that into the mid and late game, it should be a fairly easy series win for them.
We will have to see. They are looking for maybe a pick here. Ooh.
Oh, a nice elastic slingshot to knock down. Hard only for Bard. The Mossy Justice comes through, and he's finally going to get shut down. Gold given over to XDM. That's one of 2 targets that you really want that gold to be on. OG Roach on this Zac has been impeccable with these elastic slingshots, canceling dashes. I think for like the 3rd or the 4th time that I've seen it in this whole series, which is insane to think about with how much you have to pre-plan that elastic slingshot.
Yeah, really well done there. And moving over to the Baron buff, Chihuahua Dog does find Gemtop, who is kind of routing around in a bush.
And it's on 6k, it resets. It looks like IDS is just going to walk away from this one for now. They're not going to overcommit. Just going to walk away from it.
Yeah, nice. I like the general idea of the play. Whenever you go for Barons, you really force a lot of the attention over there. And because of that, it is going to be moving a little attention away. But with that being said, I am still curious if they can really find something to do. We saw Miss Banditage right there, and the Cloud Drake is spawning up here soon, but it's Cloud Drake. So I don't know how impactful or how much a priority you're going to make it outside of just, it's another objective, it gives us money. And it gives us some roaming potential, which is not too bad. It gives us an upside.
I will say in this game in particular, Savrongar and Kovu have champions that can really take advantage of the Cloud Soul buff. So seeing how much Dudbro Gaming wants to take the Soul is not too surprising. OG Roach is going to charge that Elastic Slingshot. Doesn't let it go, just lets it dissipate for now. Dragon's up, it's a smite fight, and Zeri's going to be the one to pick it up. Chihuahua Dog flashes in for the engage, but only finds the Curse of the Sad Mummy onto 1. Kovu's going to get picked up by Zalp, and there's the let's bounce on the back line. Chihuahua Dog gets picked up by XDM, and Demacian Justice again, huge damage. Clue's going to get slowed down by Zap from Zalp. Now he's stuck under tower. Zalp is over the wall, though. He's huge. Gets the crit down onto Clue and picks him up. Hard only for Bard. Nice knockup from him to pick up 2 on the knockup, but that's a double kill over to Zalp, and that is a huge team fight win for IDS.
And that's another sort of thing we've seen from IDS, just really good at playing out these team fights, knowing what to do, and positioning just generally very well on that. So, and because of that, they were able to really separate a lot of the team Deborah Gaming maybe suffering not as well as coordinated team fights, but Kovu diving in super deep but dying to Zalp. While not playing sort of that warden role where he's staying in the middle for his carries and try to peel for them. Because of that, now we just had a Zalp just running free reign against the rest of the team, as well as XVII doing quite a bit of damage without necessarily getting anyone in return there. It's going to be really interesting to see if they can maybe make a turn around from this point here. Maybe change a little bit of their plans on how they want to approach a lot of these team fights. Maybe look for a little bit more of a group wombo combo rather than dive in against Azeri and see what happens.
Getting engaged on both Chihuahua Dog and Hard Only for Barter up here, so I think with the Dead Man's Play, Gemtop is just gonna walk away from that one. But yeah, like you were saying, I think Chihuahua Dog, especially missing the Curse of the Sad Mummy on Zalp in that team fight, made such a big deal. He only found one. Speaking of finding one, Gemtop is going to force the Cyclone out of Kovu defensively, and that's a big cooldown when this Baron is up and all the teams are on the top side of the map. X-Team's on the bottom side, but he's got his teleport. He can get to the fight anytime.
Yeah, his teleport's unleashed, it's fine. But in any case, here is an interesting sight to see. But I do want to point out something pretty cool. XVII built the Shadow Flame second item that is, honestly, one of my favorite items this season, because it's nice, it's good aggression. You can build it on assassin, like AP assassins, but I built on Xerath like second item after second or first item after I build Lost Chapter, if I feel like I really want to just snowball, because how much armor that it gives.
Has the Unbreakable, he's taking so much damage, but this Braum is so tanky, he's Lightning Rush coming out from Zalp, he's doing a lot of work, he's got the Runeance and the Tiamat completed, it's a double kill for him, and this Zeri, just like the teleports in this game, is looking unleashed. This is how you want to see a Zeri game go.
Absolutely going unleashed here. Has Ruinate Hurricane, so we saw how much extra damage that Lightning was doing. Has the Tiamat, so he's already doing a ton of damage for wave clearing as well. And now it looks like it's going to be the Baron going over for ID Solaris, doing a great job for themselves. And let's see how they plan on taking this lead. They're already 6k ahead. The last time we saw them with a lead, well, last
time we saw them with a lead, the game ended.
Yeah, so we will have to see how this turns out here. If Deborah Gaming can really switch up some of their tactics. And that in the last previous fight where we thought we got a pick over on second wind, I really felt the difference that comes from Halo Blades versus Press the Attack. Because I'm a strong believer that Press the Attack is like almost a must-have on Tristana. It's good. Like, don't get me wrong. Halo Blade's great for lane phase, but once you get out of lane, you can really feel your damage kind of like fall off or not meet up to par as the other Tristanas, especially if you're already behind. The Press the Attack extra damage. Yeah, especially against that's the bonus damage you get from Press the Attack, alongside of just doing a little bit extra burst whenever you do proc it. It's very missed whenever you do decide to go with Halo Blades. You can see whenever he was going for second wind, his damage was pretty high, and then it just fell down from it after those 3 auto attacks. We saw once you go into the 3rd, 4th, 5th auto attack, you're just like, man, it's just getting it just feels so slow, and you're not outputting as much as what we saw the Zeri did whenever she just threw out like 3 Qs that were all lightning powered.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the exact wording of the rune itself. Does it only increase your damage, or does it increase everybody's damage on the target?
I know on release at the very it's everyone's because you take it on Leona. Oh, well, at least you used to take it on Leona. You grab Press the Attack on Leona, you E, auto, Q auto, you get Press the Attack, and then you just kill him.
Okay, this is tech that I might have to bring out again, because this seems really interesting.
I would double check it, because they could definitely change it from your damage, or from everyone's damage to your damage, because I haven't seen it in a bit. But it's definitely something I've done in the past whenever I played a lot more support, and I was like, yo, I just Yeah, I just go in as Leona. I hit level 2 and I just kill them because I got an aggressive bot laner alongside me. Because now they're just taking 12% extra more damage, and my ADC takes like, or can do whatever else rune he wants to.
Yeah, and then it turned out that Press the Attack was generally very good on 80 carries because they always wanted to have it on whatever target they were focusing. They really wanted the Press the Attack. It's like a comboing Lucian and Braum in a lane, or not Lucian and Braum, Lucian and Pantheon in a laning phase because Pantheon really likes taking Press the Attack when he's support, but so does Lucian, and having double PTA feels really bad.
Yeah. And it looks like someone in chat, JVL indeed, confirms that PTA does increase damage from all sources.
Yeah, so especially into a tank frontliner like the Zac and like the Braum, that could really be the difference maker, especially when your team is, what I would say is like kind of low damage. Your only real big damage threats are this Corki and this Tristana. If you can increase their damage, even just by that little bit extra, that might be the difference between getting a kill and letting someone get away.
Yeah. And if we want to talk about like stacking buffs on buffs on buffs, Chihuahua Dog being the Curse's Sad Mummy, converting some of that magic damage that Schrödinger is doing as the Corki, because his passive converts like 80, at least 80% of his damage, his physical damage, into magic damage. And then that magic damage then being converted to true damage, and on top of all of that, if you had PTA, then you increase the physical damage, that would increase the magic damage, and that would in turn increase the true damage. Indirectly, because it doesn't actually increase the true damage, it would increase the magic damage you take. It's a lot of like layers on there. It's like, it's like an onion. It's a lot of layers on there, and overall it's just ends up in something that's pretty nice.
Yeah, I do find it interesting that Chihuahua Dog has opted for the Abyssal Mask in this game. When I saw the Spectre's Cal, I wondered if he might be going for the Spirit Visage, because that's the only other item that it builds into right now. But the Abyssal Mask, I can kind of see. The item is really not in a great place right now, but the idea of it is, because Amumu has so much max HP, he's going to be draining magic resist away from people who he's nearby. And because he converts magic damage into true damage, that's just going to be so much of the potential magic resist of the opponents basically nullified by the combination of the passive and the Abyssal Mask.
So it's going to be quite an interesting way to go about Clue here. Now finishing up that LDR, definitely going to see a damage increase. I do like that from him, because he, we've been dogging on him a little bit for rune choice, and it's just really like a play style difference when it comes to that rune choice. But LDR definitely is going to be filling in some of that gap for him, and I do appreciate that he did prioritize that, noticing is like, okay, they have a decent amount of armor, they're going to be getting more eventually, and if anything, they're just tankier, so they're going to take bonus damage from me. These are all things I enjoy. Let's see, Dogmar in the chat asking who won. Right now we are in game 3, IDS versus Deadbro Gaming. It is getting slowly in the lead for IDS at the moment here. Game 1 gave me whiplash. Game 2 was a good, hard-fought victory for Deadbro Gaming, and now we're looking from playing from behind at the moment for Deadbro.
Yeah, Dubro, I would say they're not doing terribly playing from behind. They're not bleeding out a heavily amount. Like, the gold lead is 7k, which is a lot, but at the same time, it's hasn't increased a lot in the past 5 minutes, which is what you want to do when you are behind. You don't want to, if you can decrease the gold lead, fantastic, go for it. But if you make a risky play and the gold lead increases, it's only going to put you in a worse spot, and it's only going to make it harder for you to make that play that will get you back into the game. And speaking of a play that'll get you back into the game, Baron buff has started. Sovereigner has package. If there was ever a fight that Dudbro wanted to take, this would be it. XDM putting the burst down on the Clue. Huge damage. Thankfully, has the lifesteal, so he's going to be able to walk into the wave and away from the Chaos Storm. Going to get himself back healthy from that. And a nice disengage off of the Baron means that maybe Dudbro is going to turn onto the Baron themselves. I think IDS maybe have walked a little too far away. Gemtop is here. They have vision on it thanks to the Scuttle Crab. Gemtop just sort of standing, aggressively, menacingly walking. Hard only for Bard is getting walked in. There's the package to separate the team, but it's not huge effectiveness. Nice jump away from Clue. XVII is going to be on the back line, but he gets deleted. Zalp is on the front line, though. He's doing lots of damage on this area. He's hit that 3 out of power spike. He's got the lightning rush. He's getting the auto attacks into Clue. Eventually, he'll hit him and get the double kill for himself. XVII being the only one to fall so far. Sovereigner kind of have to Valkyrie away from Ojirochi. He does a lot of damage. He has that Blighting Jewel, but now second wind is here. Ojirochi not even going to die. That is 4 kills picked up for IDS, and that is going to be the soul.
That is going to be the soul, which is appreciated for Zalp. I mean, you get... It's still extra movement speed whenever you ult, right? Just double checking.
Yeah, it is extra move. It's extra... I think it's 10% ulti CDR. No, it's 10% flat movement speed and 50% movement speed when you ult.
Okay. So, overall, that's going to be pretty nice. I mean, for Zalp, who is already running and gunning as is, having that extra movement speed is going to be super nice. OG Roach, whenever he pops a Let's Bounce, and CM gets a little bit more of his kite factor back into him, as well as second wind now be able to, after he finished the glacial fissure, able to protect a little bit better with that unbreakable shield, or unbreakable wall. Baron buff is going to be transferred over for IDS here, and they have a solid 10k gold lead. Let's see if they can really capitalize on this Baron buff and look for the end.
Yeah, once they have the Baron buff in their pocket, it's going to be a lot easier for them to end. I do want to point out, specifically Gemtop and Zalp, I think, have been playing the game of their season so far. They've been playing this, even this whole series really well. Zalp has not been making a ton of mistakes and has made Zeri look very, very good. Has that Black Cleaver now completed, sitting on the stopwatch. He's going to be very difficult to kill. Look at that health bar. He's a tank. He's basically a tank. That's ridiculous.
On the flip side, because he's basically a tank, the LDR is going to get extra value off of him. Which is something to note. Like, something I would at least want to note, that the Lord Dom's Regard is going to be doing a little bit extra damage to Zalp, but I don't know how much of that is going to matter.
Wants his way in, the elastic slingshot and the stretching strikes, finds Sovereigner. There goes Chihuahua Dog as well. Didn't even see him get picked up. Zalp grabs himself a double kill. There goes the lightning rush. Kova's gonna get bursted down. Hard only for Bard. Gonna get picked up as well. Clue, the last surviving member. Quadra kill. It's a pentakill for Zalp to finish out this series. IDS are gonna take the Nexus and go undefeated in the GRLCS Enforcer Division.
Yep, and this means that it's gonna be a pretty good spot to be if you are one of the IDS's fans. Dudbro Gaming, unfortunately, you guys will be falling down to 4-3, which it then makes you around the same as... It depends if does anyone know if Dogmar won against Huskers, or Huskers won around?
It looks like, as I'm checking the VOD real quick, it looks like Dogmar won it in a 2-1 series versus Huskers.
Okay, so that means, and then we just have to decide, and I'm imagining Mingo's won their match, so that means seeding doesn't change at all. It's going to be still 1, 2, 3, 4, I believe. Yeah. Let's see. It looks like Malins did carry that game for Dogmar, so congratulations to that. As well as now, yeah, it looks like seeding is going to be set for Enforcers. If we go ahead and look at it, it's going to be, first up is going to be IDS, gone undefeated at thus far, with only dropping 3 games total in the whole season. Followed up by, it's going to be Dogmar Gaming at 5-3. Right? No. How many? Wait. Okay, I actually got to look at the website because I'm trying to remember.
Dogmar is 5-2, right? Because they just won this game.
Yes, 5-2. There we go. Yeah. So they are 5-2. Mingos, I imagine they won their game, so they would be 5-2 as well. And then Dudro Gaming will be falling down to 4-3. Husker Scarlet would then be 3-4, which would put them underneath Dudro Gaming, which is pretty nuts. It looks like Agent 82 says he saw the sign carry, so I believe it. But it looks like that is going to be our gains for tonight's banger series from both Agent 82's channel as well as here on Get Wrecked TV. And Well, do you have
Penta to
any?
finish it off wouldn't
Mhm.
have a series end any other way.
Yeah, do you have any words you want to say before we go ahead and end off the stream here?
Thanks for having me on the stream. I always appreciate being able to cast, and banger series like this are what make it fun.
Yeah, and you can always catch What's Pretty on whatever he's doing over on his Twitter, right? It's or just at
Twitter,
What's
it's at
Pretty.
What's Too Pretty. I
Yep.
don't tweet very often, but sometimes I'll retweet cool art that I see. So go ahead
A
and follow me there.
and I've been Red Skull Dragon. You can find me in the Discord. Anyways, looks like we are gonna be done for here for tonight. Tomorrow will be, or not tomorrow, but next week we'll be back with the Firelights Conference to finish out their series, and then we go straight into quarterfinals. So thank you all for sticking around here. It's been a crazy series, crazy season so far, and well, good night.